All right, welcome to the council meeting. In the best interest of time, if I can have your attention, please. Welcome to the council meeting in the best interest of time and efficiency and ensuring that everyone who wishes to address the council is given the opportunity to do so. The following will apply to all comments made by the public. I'm sorry, let me, am I in that section? Is that right? I see it, all right. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to address the council unless such time is extended by the mayor or by questions from council. Group shall designate a spokesperson to avoid repetition of comments. Every effort will be made to avoid interrupting speakers. For your information, the items listed in section 11 of your agenda are for reading and introduction, and the council will not take final action on them tonight. If you have questions on these items, please see the city staff in the back of the chambers. Thank you for participating in your city government. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Can we all please stand for the invocation by Pastor David Nye from Christ Our Savior Fellowship Church, who will lead us in the invocation. And please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we want to take this opportunity this evening to thank you for another day of life. We also recognize that you are sovereign over all the affairs of men and are sovereign over the entire universe. And now, Lord, I ask you to bless our City of St. Cloud leaders, especially these council members, as they debate and make decisions that impact the citizens of our city. Give them wisdom, good judgment. We also ask that whatever decisions that are made here this evening will be pleasing and honoring to you. And we ask this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Nye. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Robertson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Here.
Councilmember Paul.
Here.
Councilmember Urban.
Here.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Here. City Manager Miller, do you have any agenda updates?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to request that the council add a presentation by Superintendent Mark Shanoff from the Osceola County School District. If we could make that be the second presentation this evening.
Okay. All right, so the systems, and the citizen, do I add that? Is that how you said I have to repeat it? I'd like to request the citizens forum after the consent agenda and move the council action item number 1 and number 4 immediately before the public hearings. Do I ask for a motion on that?
Well, they don't need a motion. I'm assuming everybody's, they're okay with that?
Is that
Yeah,
consensus?
you just need a consensus to revise.
Gotcha. Consensus.
So to be clear, the citizens forum will happen after the consent agenda, and then items 1 and 2 in the council action will be moved up to right after the citizens forum.
Okay. All right, and now on to our presentations. And we have a presentation of the 24th Community Project Funding for Stormwater Improvements and Flood Prevention by Congressman Soto. All right, doesn't look like anybody from Congressman Soto's office is here. All right, so go ahead, and we have Superintendent from the Osceola County School District, Mark Shanoff, here with us tonight.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, Ms. Miller. The relationship that exists between a school district and its municipalities is something that's very important to the overall operation of our school district. It also generates value for our constituents and your constituents as well. Police departments that we work with and police departments that I've worked with during my career in education is rooted in 2 very important facets. Number 1, proactive police work, which sometimes can seem like the easy work, and then reactive police work, which can be much more difficult. This past 2 weeks, we've encountered 2 situations in which we have had to lean into and on the St. Cloud Police Department for their assistance at the high school. These situations originated out of state. We were not the only school district that had to go through these swatting attacks, yet it is imperative to keep the trust of our community that we ensure that safety of our students and our staff is the top priority. So we still have to do our due diligence when these situations arise. So the question then becomes, if we know that these things are occurring and we know that they are benign, how quickly can we resume normal operations? Because of the professionalism and heroism of the St. Cloud Police Department, we saw minimal disruption at our schools as a result of the quick action and leadership of the officers in this city. I felt it necessary to take a moment and personally address the council and thank the leadership of the police department and the command staff that supported the work that took place the past two instances last week. So if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and announce those individuals and have them come forward. I have one of my challenge coins for each of them. Sergeant Stockdale, Sergeant Lawson, SRO Supervisor, yes, absolutely. SRO Supervisor Fanenko, Corporal Martinez, and SRO Burris. I want to thank you all very much for the support that you provided our school. Actually, the 3 schools that are located so close to each other last week. It made a significant difference, made a huge impact. I know that the leadership at the school is very grateful for your bravery and for your guidance and your leadership. So thank you very much.
And Mr. Burrows is hiding along the wall, so. Okay, thank you.
Great job, guys. Great job. And thank you, Superintendent. And I will say, I was out there yesterday with the Jimmy Bear's Barbecue and Andrew, of course, and you have some great staff as well that responded. So, and we all have a great team here in our city. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Soto has arrived.
All right, and here for a presentation, Congressman Darren Soto, regarding the community project funding for stormwater improvement and flood prevention.
Good evening, Commissioners. Mayor, congratulations on your election. It's been an honor to work with you on veterans issues. Now we're going to get to do a lot more as well. Commissioner Paul, congratulations to you, too. I know we worked on a lot of water issues over the years, and Commissioner Urban, you did it the right way, unopposed, right? Well, as with many of these projects, you know the deal. We look to you all to come up with what you think is best for our local community here, and then we make sure to bring those dollars back from Washington. And this last year, like with others, it's all about investing in community, investing in especially the downtown. As St. Cloud gets bigger, having a downtown where we all can gather and for an economic driver for jobs in the area. We really appreciate the Commission's vision and are going to continue to support you all in that. So this year we're thrilled to get through the 2024 budget $1,616,000 for downtown St. Cloud stormwater improvements and flood control. We know, and in addition, Toho Water Authority had already requested, and we were able to secure another $697,000 for a downtown St. Cloud water main replacement. We know during Hurricanes Irma and Ian that there was some minor flooding in the downtown area and in parts beyond. And Milton was a close call, Hurricane Milton as well, and so we're going to continue to work on those things. I know Commissioner Paul, you're already aware tomorrow we'll be going to the Whitted community to talk about the $850,000 we secured for a new water main for that community. I know just outside the city limits, but still in the area around St. Cloud. The request for this year was to help out with training for our law enforcement through St. Cloud Emergency Operations Equipment. $1.184 million passed the House, and now I wish it would be easier for these budgets to pass in Washington sometimes. So it could be later this year or early next year, but to make sure that our heroes, like you saw here tonight, and Chief Gerke and everybody has what they need for emergency operations. I was thrilled to be able to tour that facility before, and so again, you ask for it, we're going to do our best to get it sooner rather than later. There are a lot of major regional projects that have been landing over the past year or so. One of the biggest is a $3.5 billion expansion of I-4, which we know it's more on the west side of the county, but it's currently the worst traffic in the nation, even worse than like Los Angeles or New York. So about half that money was federal and half that was state. So that's your federal government and state coming together. $3.5 billion expansion from 528 all the way down to 27 in Polk County. Then in Neo City, over the past year or two, we've been able to work with both you all, the county, and with the city of Kissimmee. Over $500 million is coming in investments for Neo City, both for aerospace microchips, for major Army contracts to help our service members. And we just got a huge announcement this last week from ELSPES. They will be building the second major microchip factory in Neo City. It's a $470 million project. We appreciate tourism and agriculture around here, two of our greatest industries, and we also know we had to diversify. And so we're seeing now the second fabricator come in to make aerospace microchips to help in Cape Canaveral and also for our military. And in addition, that's helped also be a catalyst for a major expansion in Osceola Heritage Park, which I'm sure a lot of you have been reading about. $1.3 billion expansion. We're going to get the Orlando Lions headquarters, the Orlando Pride headquarters. It'll also help us keep the Osceola Magic here in Osceola County. I know I'm a big sports fan. I'm sure you all are too. And the Pride won the championship. The Lions came pretty close as well. So we want to keep them here. It's going to also mean multiple different soccer fields. We know we need more hotels around Osceola Heritage Park, especially for major conventions like the MICA convention for a lot of the car fans around here. Another big loan that we got with Toho Water is $188 million to expand our water supply and capacity. I don't have to tell you all, St. Cloud's the fastest growing city in the district, but we need to make sure we have enough water. And so part of that will be everything from different reservoirs and different areas for the lower Floridan, but also Taylor Creek just south of here. We're expanding that, and you're going to hear a little bit more about that in a second for both Osceola and Orange County. That's a creek on Deseret Ranch that we're able to change the water storage and basically convert it into a reservoir. Now we're going to be expanding that reservoir. It'll also help our local ranchers as well. And then one of the big ones, another one is the $1.3 billion for the Point Santa Parkway, which will help also with the South Park Connector, which I know a lot of you are paying attention to. It is unacceptable that Point Santa and St. Cloud aren't connected to the big metro areas in Osceola County. That's a $1.3 billion project. About half the money came in from the feds, again, with a partnership with the state as well. And then the last big one is a Sunrail Brightline expansion that you all may be familiar with, where we'll connect Sunrail to the theme parks and to the airport, which will allow us to do weekend service. In addition, Brightline will connect Orlando to Tampa, and it's also connecting already Miami to Orlando as well. And I've already, at the urging of several of you, started talking with both the airport, Sunrail, with the City of Orlando and others about a potential expansion to St. Cloud. I know a couple of you have asked about it. So we started looking at it. It would have to come out east of the airport and perhaps go down Narcousie to connect to downtown St. Cloud. Don't look at it on a calendar just yet, but it starts with ideas from you all, and then we work along, because we're going to continue to expand all the highways so people can drive. We're going to expand the airport, over $300 million there to expand to Terminal C, and we're also going to improve the number of buses as well as Sunrail, so that if you want to fly, you want to drive, you want to take the train, we're going to give options to our local residents. We know that traffic is one of the biggest issues, along with jobs around here. And then lastly, we just passed this week the Water Resource Development Act, which included authorizations for $45 million for the expansion of Taylor Creek, which is here in Osceola. That's the authorization. We still have to now get it in the budget next, but it's been authorized, so that'll be a huge expansion of our ability to make sure we have water for Osceola County. And then $5 million was authorized for the Whitted neighborhood sewers as well. Again, authorizations, not money in hand yet, but it means that now we can spend the next 2 years going to get our money for our community. And then lastly, ecosystem restoration studies for East Lake Toho and Lake Conway to continue to work on the restoration of East Lake Toho to make sure that we're not flooding. We saw during Hurricane Ian, some of the lake got into a lot of people's yards, almost got into some people's houses. And something that I got to learn through working way back with Hurricane Irma is that Lake Conway connects to East Lake Toho underneath the airport. And so we're also looking at a ecosystem restoration study for Lake Conway, so that as these two big water bodies are interconnected, which the last time Hurricane Ian, we ended up having to hold water in Lake Conway. We want to make sure all those systems are up to snuff as we see hurricanes continuing to hit our area. So I appreciate the vision that you all have as a commission. Looking forward to working with our new partners, and we're going to keep bringing home our taxpayer dollars to here in St. Cloud. And God bless you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Congressman Soto. No,
But the big
and
check,
one, of
you
course.
can't cash that one though.
Congressman, you've been a great friend, great supporter of our city, and we do appreciate you, great support of our veterans. I've been working with you for the past 4 years now, and with Juan, I do really appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, Mayor, you'd be happy to know last night we just gave the incoming troops intro level of 14% raise in the National Defense Authorization Act, and then a nearly 5% raise overall for our troops. So they'll be veterans one day, but for right now, they're defending our nation. And
Yeah, let's
they're
give a
not
round for our
gonna quit
veterans and our
Back.
military.
Will you join
Yes.
us? Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a presentation of the Employee of the Month by Roberto Smith.
Good evening, everyone. Mayor, council members, city manager, everyone in attendance, pleasant good evening to you all. It is my pleasure today to recognize an individual who has truly gone above and beyond in supporting our team recently, especially during a time of transition and change. That person is Liz Cedric Johnson. As many of you know, we faced some recent personnel changes in our department, and while it's never easy to adjust, Liz Cedric has stepped up in an extraordinary way, and we truly appreciate it. He has demonstrated an unwavering work ethic and true team-oriented attitude by taking on tasks and projects that were left undone. His contributions have been invaluable, particularly in key projects that we recently completed, like our fire training facility, the AV outfitting. He helped to finish that, or health clinic site preparation, and our recent network augmentation at the ranch. Liz Cedric hasn't just completed these projects, he's led them. He's been the driving force behind coordinating help, making sure that everything stayed on track, and making sure that each project was pushed across the finish line. His proactive approach has kept our department moving forward, and even though we were short-staffed, he's helped us to keep moving forward. And for that, we're incredibly grateful. Liz Cedric, sir, your hard work and dedication and willingness to go the extra mile has not gone unnoticed. You've been a true asset to our team, and it's an honor to recognize you as the Employee of the Month. Thank you for all you do, sir. So please join me in congratulating Liz Cedric. This is for you, sir.
He does it with a smile all the time, always in a good mood.
All right, next up, we have a presentation of the Quarterly Economic Development Report by Antoinette Forbes.
Good evening, Antoinette Forbes, Economic Development Director. Wanted to provide you with the quarterly report. So I want to start by giving you some data for our workforce. I want you to know that these numbers reflect the 5 zip codes that represent St. Cloud, so there may be some spillover into parts that are not necessarily within our boundaries but are still reflective. So as of 2003, they had that the regions of population increased by 29% since 2018, so that's in the last 5 plus years. And so it shows that the population is expected to increase by another almost 16% in the next 5 years. It shows that our jobs increased along with that population of 18% for those 5 zip codes I previously mentioned, and that we actually outpaced the national growth rate by almost 19%, with our top industries being eating places, education, hospitals, and obviously local government, because the city is actually the largest employer. Our average earning wage per job is $57,800, which is lower than the national average, unfortunately. And now I want to go into some of our department's efforts. So it has been divided by business attraction and business retention. So on the retention side, that is obviously for our existing businesses and how do we help them grow and expand. So one of the things that we included was our nonprofits, because they are still considered a business. They're just a tax identification, clarification. So our community support grants were now distributed or evaluated through our Economic Development Advisory Committee, where they reviewed all 38 of those applications and were able to come to a consensus of how to do that, the award allocation. We also partnered with CareerSource in our summer internship program, which we're able to fund through Community Development Block Grant funding. And then the picture below you see is our partnership with the Small Business Development Center, where they come to City Hall once a month and offer one-on-one complimentary business assistance to our entrepreneurs. We also hosted several events. So part of our business plan is to have at least 1 event per quarter. This year, we've actually had 8 events, both online and in person. So these are just some of the ones that we have hosted. We did the elevator pitch series, which The recipients of that program actually came to the last council meeting. They were awarded a $1,000 grant to go towards working capital. We also hosted, for example, the access to capital information, where we had over 20 banks that came to the city to talk to our businesses about how to get additional funding. We have also partnered with the Orlando Economic Partnership as part of our membership, where they are doing a business survey, which includes our St. Cloud businesses, so they can help us determine what is the business climate, both perceived and actual. They will use that data, extrapolate St. Cloud's information specifically, and then we will repurpose that information for our upcoming event in February, which is the Economic Outlook. Under business retention, we also have marketing, where we have a monthly newsletter that goes out for our 2 newest council members. We have now added you to that distribution list, so you will also receive those once a month. It usually goes out around the first business day of the month, where we provide our local businesses information to assist them, whether or not it's a city program. It does not matter if it helps our businesses. We want to get that information out. So, for example, the last newsletter, we offered information about the SBA and different programs that they had available. As of now, we have 4,101 subscribers to our monthly newsletter with a 55% growth rate. That has increased by 705 subscribers since last year. Under business attraction now, so we have now started to reallocate our efforts a bit and split them more on the attraction side. I think that we've been, I'll call it, victim of our own success, where our existing businesses have grown. So now we need to figure out, how do we recruit businesses that are outside of the region to look at St. Cloud as a destination location for their business. So you'll see that we were featured for example, our pedicabs, which is the ordinance that the City Council passed, which allows pedicabs to operate within the downtown area. But we also have started advertising, which you see on the right-hand side is an advertisement we did in Site Selection magazine, where we promoted St. Cloud as a destination for manufacturing and industry. We also have been featured for our new incentive program that was adopted about 2 months ago, and now we have partnered with a group called Retail Strategies, which will help us with our recruitment efforts to bring in more retailers, not just restaurants, but also experiential retail, hoteliers, and so on. We have a newsletter for business attraction that also goes out once a month. You all will be receiving that as well. And so that one is geared more toward our real estate community. We try to feature spotlight of different locations that we think would benefit to have new businesses come in. We also try to give them information on things that the city is doing, such as our new incentive program to attract businesses to come in. We also, at this point, have done 2 podcasts just advertising the economic development efforts and how it has become one of our top strategic goals. And we have featured information about the incentive programs. Our award-winning website has, as of last year, we have now a little over 2,400 users and over 5,000 views. You'll see probably better than I can because my eyes are not as good as they used to be. But the majority of the visits we get are from desktops. That means that people are actually taking the time to peruse the site compared to on their phone, where they get information at a glance. So this year, we now have 2 new employees, which I'm very excited about, who have been a very great addition to our office and helping us move the needle forward even more. We have done 417 cases of business assistance. That includes sending out letters to new and renewing businesses when they do their business tax receipts to let them know that we are here, we are available, and we can provide resources to them. As I mentioned before, we've done 8 events, 7 in person, 1 virtual. The one in virtual was, we have started our How To Business series. It is how to do business with the city, how to do business with the county. Last month we did one on how to do business with the Turnpike and GOA. In February we will feature one on how to do business with Lockheed Martin. We have won 4 awards announced last fiscal year. So 3 of them have been state and 1 has been international, both for our website as well as for our economic gardening program, which has garnered us attention that now we're starting to get calls from other cities across the state asking, how is it that St. Cloud, you all are able to do what you do? What's next? Our economic outlook. So we will have economists that will come and talk about St. Cloud specifically and their projections for the future and what that looks like. That is scheduled for February, I believe, the 4th at OHP. Our economic summit, we plan to bring that back later in the next year. And that is specifically geared towards site selectors, real estate developers, and showcasing St. Cloud and specific properties and why it's good to do business here. I talked about our Next Connect series. We also, through our housing program, we have completed 4 re-roofs. There are about 7 more that need to be done. And we are almost done with the Tracy Manor Housing Rehab Project, which there'll be a ribbon cutting scheduled for that as well. And that is our quarterly report. And I'm available for any questions.
Yeah, it sounds like you've been hard at work.
Sometimes.
It's all great. Thank you, Antoinette. That was very cool. All right, y'all have any questions? All right, well, with that, we'll go ahead and move on to the next section of the meeting, is the consent agenda. This next portion of tonight's meeting is the consent agenda, which contains items that have been determined to be routine and non-controversial. If anyone in the audience wishes to address a particular item on the consent agenda, now is the opportunity for you to do so. Additionally, if staff or members of the City Council wish to speak on a consent item, they have the same opportunity. All right, I would like to ask Council if there are any items on the consent agenda that you would like to pull for discussion. Councilmember Gilbert.
Yeah, I just want to mention for this cemetery, that's going to be an increased cost and a forever cost. So as we look at our pricing that we do for that cemetery, let's take that in mind as we increase. I know we are talking about, and we have increased, we have a 2-rate system. It's citizens and then non-citizens, but I'd just like the council to know that this cost, once the cemetery is completely full, and I think that's 600 spots, I could be off by a little bit, that will need to be maintained the duration of our city. So just I'd like them to take that in consideration as we look at what rates and what costs are. You're talking about maintenance, you're talking about having personnel there and numerous things. So I would yield back to you, but I'd just like the city council to understand that there's always going to be costs involved with this city cemetery. I yield back to you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Was that just a statement, or did you want to pull off and discuss it any further? Discuss it?
Okay. Make you all aware. We don't get to talk, so I can do it during this.
I would like to pull item E and G off. All right. Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak on any items on the consent agenda? And Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Well, you need a motion as to the, unless you want to talk about your items first and then do.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we vote on it, then we talk about the
You
other
can,
ones.
but you still need a motion to approve all the items except for items E and G.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve all the items except for item E and G?
Motion to approve excluding items E and G as the mayor has requested.
Motion from Councilmember Fletcher.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Paul. All those in favor?
Well, you need a roll
I'm
call.
sorry. Madam Roll Call.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Councilmember Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I was back in my museum board.
Yeah.
That's how we do it. Aye, nays, and nays. All right. I'll go ahead and start off. Item E, as many of y'all know, I campaigned on, I'm not a big fan of giving mobility fee credits for developers for interior roads, for roads within their developments, unless we're asking for something extra special, 4-lane boulevards or something that we really need. So this item, we're talking about giving $23 million back. It doesn't sit well with me, only because I've only seen this for the past, 4 or 5 days. I like to dive deeper in this. I'm not saying yay or nay on this. I'd like to postpone this item possibly to the January or the February meeting, if that's possible.
So you can make a motion to continue it to either one of those meetings.
I'd like to make a motion to move item E to the February meeting to allow enough time to research that item.
I ask a question, City Attorney. When we pull the item agenda off, do we read that so the citizens know what we're talking about?
You can, yeah, it probably is advisable, yes, Mr. Gilbert. If the clerk could just read the.
Could you please read E&G?
Resolution number 2024-203R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, entering an agreement with Osceola County and Whaley's Farms, LLC, for the design, engineering fees, and actual construction cost of framework roads, conveyance of right-of-way within the adjacent to the Bella Terra property boundaries for mobility fee credits, authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
So you have a motion to continue to what's the February meeting date?
February 13th.
Okay, so the motion will be to continue it to February 13th. We need a second.
I second.
We have a second from Councilmember Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. That.
Yes.
It was a second from Gilbert.
Oh,
Councilmember
I'm sorry.
Gilbert.
I thought it was Fletcher, sorry.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Blackwell. I'm sorry. I don't know why.
You gonna correct me?
All the other ones say this one.
Aye.
I'm so sorry. Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, item G. Madam Clerk, can you please read that?
Resolution number 2024-205R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending and restating previously adopted resolution 2024-171R and incorporating an amended form of the agenda for council meetings, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date.
All right, thank you. City Attorney, this was just, all we did was add the updated agenda item to move those items around. We
Right,
talked
that
about it.
moves the citizens forum piece to where you're going to try to do it tonight after the consent agenda.
All right. Yeah.
So the agenda is adopted as part of this resolution, so whenever you change the format of the agenda, we have to do a formal resolution.
Okay. I just didn't see the original resolution, so I thought that's the only thing that it was
Yeah,
just an
that's correct.
addition of the changing of the order. Okay. And I'd like to make a motion to approve item G.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Fletcher. Deputy Mayor Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, next section of this meeting is the citizens forum. Any person who desires to comment on any item not on this agenda is provided this opportunity to address the city council. Each person is requested to complete a sign-in form to be provided to the presiding officers prior to or soon after it's practical thereafter. The person addresses the council. When you come forward, we ask that you please state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And we have Miss Betty Demke.
Feels good to be here with good tidings rather than my normal complaints and requests. But before I start, I have a question. What do you do with all that Play-Doh you had on the Christmas sleigh? I think we know what you do behind the scenes up here. Anyhow, as you know, the parade was a tremendous success. Each year, it just, to me, gets better and better and better. We had over 100 entries and over 2,000 people in the parade. actually in the parade representing their businesses and organizations, and each one reflecting our community's desire to usher in the Christmas season with some hope and happiness and joy. I don't have this year's official count from the police department of how many spectators were attending, but last year they estimated 12,000 plus lining the sidewalks. You were there, you saw it. The way our city has grown, I think it was probably a lot more than that this time. And the parade involves months and months of pre-preparation behind the scenes that people don't realize has to take place. And those involved include many of your city departments. They're on my parade committee, and I cannot express to you how diligent and how faithful they are to help us. And so, as chairman of the Christmas parade and my committee and the entire chamber, I want to say thank you to the Parks and Rec, the fire department, Road and Bridge, what we would do without those barricades, J.B. Miller and his TV crew, and all the volunteers and others that worked to ensure a successful parade. And when I say success, I'm not talking all the floats and all the people. The success is measured by the reaction and the people's enjoyment of it. And as you rode through the parade route, you saw the people's faces, their reactions, and what a great, I felt it down in my production area. A community coming together, no one's fighting, no one's arguing, shuffling for position or anything else. Everybody's there for one purpose and they're united. And that, to me, is the positive reaction we need to strive to carry forward throughout the whole year. And again, thank you very, very much for all the participation that the city did and helps us with. And God willing, I'll be standing up here next year doing the same thing again.
Thank you, Betty.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Betty. Yeah, that parade was amazing. Everybody at the chamber, Robert Bass, Dirk Webb, I mean, everybody was amazing putting that thing together. So it was great to see Trooper Steve up on there on the judges' table. He's a good friend of ours here. That's good. Thank you. All right, would anyone else like to speak? We have, Stephen Hobbs.
Stephen Hobbs, 1607 Snapper Street, St. Cloud. That's in the Turtle Creek subdivision. Mr. Mayor and City Council, beginning in the first week of November, the developer of the under construction subdivision of Lakeside of Satilla at Lillian Road and Puffin Road began clearing the land of the orange groves that were there in preparation for their new development. This was done by building burn piles. I live across the road, across the Mississippi Road from this development. It's going on. And for the first 2 weeks of November, every single day, including the weekends, they were burning those orange trees. This company, Central Florida Land Concepts, was chosen to do the land preparation. For those 2 weeks, we received a tremendous amount of ash and smoke over our neighborhoods. This is some of the worst smoke I've ever seen in my 15 years living in Florida. After a few days of experience in this, I contacted the fire marshal, Mr. Tonks, who was very interested in hearing what I had to say. He investigated and you see what was happening. He called me back a few hours later and explained that the Florida Forest Service approved these burns, but he would check to ensure that all the rules were being followed, which he did. Mr. Tonks called me back and gave me the supervisor's name for the land clearing, and I contacted Mr. Smith from Central Florida Land Concept, who's the supervisor of this burn, and he assured me his company would take every precaution to minimize the impact on our community. Mr. Smith even came to my home on November the 9th and saw the damage caused by the ash. He also said he would work with us to clean up the ash from these fires. I have contacted Mr. Smith and his company several times over the last month, and he had no response. Earlier today, I emailed the City Council the photos I wanted you to see, the damage under my home from these fires. This includes my swimming pool being covered in it, my pump being broke, my filter clogged. I'm now getting estimates of $1,600 from pressure washing companies to clean my house. This has clogged my solar panels on my roof, My gutters are clogged with it. I started bringing this recently placed pool filter to show you all this evening what it looked like. I sent you pictures of it to see what it looked like. Now, I recognize that we live in an area prone to forest fires. I can understand that we're in unavoidable circumstances that create smoke and ash, but this is an unavoidable situation the Florida Forest Service manages without any care for their residents. Fires were burning on days when there were high winds, or even burning on the weekends, days they were not authorized. Yes, I did file a complaint with the Florida Forest Service. The ranger did call me back to tell me they were looking at it, but nothing was done. This is called undue hardship for me and my neighbors. Many had breathing issues as the fires were burning, with smoke and ash covering our community. I'm asking the City Council to step in and ensure this does not happen again. I don't know what has to be done or enforced, but I do appreciate the fire chief calling me today and explaining to me what the city's responsibilities were. I just asked the City Council to take this into consideration when this development comes before you.
You can finish up. Yeah.
And
You got more time. Yeah.
I think they're coming up tonight for some development talk that they want to develop. But I hope the City Council puts them on task for cleaning up the mess they're creating in our neighborhoods. I mean, you look up and down my neighborhood in Turtle Creek, all that has, the roofs are black from that ash, and nothing's being done about it. And I just hope someone can do something about it, because it's not fair to me to have to pay for it when they can easily haul that debris off and do something else with it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. City Manager would you like to address this?
Thank you. I know the fire chief looked into this earlier today. I think he can talk to you about a potential solution regarding a proposed ordinance we could consider.
Okay.
Chief Miller?
Good evening, Jason Miller, Fire Chief. I did indeed talk with Mr. Hobbs earlier today. The Florida Forest Service does control the majority of permitting regulations for land clearing burns. With that said, there are some steps the City of St. Cloud can take, and that by and large in past municipalities, the Forest Service has supported once they are passed. It would come down to we'd have to pass a resolution to ban any land clearing burns and outdoor burning. We've attempted this in the past. However, it didn't gain much traction from the dais or from other aspects of the city in the past. At your direction, we could look into doing this. I'm sure the city attorney has some resources he could help us out with, some direction on the language and everything. By and large, the Florida Forest Service has some fairly tight parameters as far as what they allow for burning and the restrictions thereon. Some of those being, it has to be off of property lines by certain distances. Typically it's 50 to 100 feet, depending on the area. Burns are supposed to be out at dusk. Notice I say supposed to be. Sometimes it doesn't necessarily happen. But they do have mechanisms of enforcement in place for the certified burners who light those fires. The biggest issue is if we don't know about getting called out there at dark or something like that, we can't make those arrangements with forestry to go out and see it, to in turn enforce the actions. As for residents with respiratory illnesses or something like that, the Forest Service has made it perfectly clear that if it is causing a health hazard to people, that there is the authority to pull the burn permit and to force the people to put the fire out. So again, if we don't necessarily know those things are happening, we can't address them, and we need to address them real time. Unfortunately, we can't do it weeks later.
All right, thank you. One quick question, and maybe this is City Manager. If it was still agricultural property, would that be allowed? Because I assume it's got the development rights for homes, right? It's approved development.
You mean for the actual burning process?
Right, if that property was still
I
agricultural.
don't know whether the state would approve in any form burning for development purposes if it's just agricultural property. So.
Correct. So it's basically, it happens all over the state, all over Osceola County. We get a report from the Department of Forestry. It's everything from ranch grove owners who are clearing out dead trees who file it to, land development going on. The perfect example is look along the turnpike, for the turnpike clearing for the widening. They're burning out there right along the turnpike. We've probably got 20 calls to our comm center about brush fires at night out there when it was the burns. That's the reality. The biggest issue is if they're causing a nuisance, we need to know about it. And we'd ask you to call the non-emergency line if it's not life-threatening for that.
So I think the mayor might be asking if agricultural has an exemption from not having to even follow an ordinance that we would propose.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
If it
Because they
hadn't
have
already been approved
additional
for
privileges
development.
granted by the state of Florida.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that when we work on, if the council's direction is to move forward with an ordinance that Chief Miller is suggesting, we'll certainly do the research and we can look into that and be sure that agriculture, the agricultural activity exemption may prohibit the city from enforcing that against.
Okay, so agricultural lands most likely would still have the rights to do that.
Probably.
I don't want to affect those if we're going to move forward. and
Well, as you
create
know,
an
there's
ordinance.
certain rights that apply to agricultural services within an appropriately agriculturally zoned piece of property. That's a bona fide agricultural use. So I
And-
can't tell you today whether this would be.
And I would ask as part of this ordinance that we include the ability to do a burn ban in general. Currently, we ride under Osceola County's waiver for burn bans when we hit drought reasonings. I would ask that we go ahead and include that in that ordinance as well.
Okay, how do we go about doing that? Do we just make a motion to move forward?
Well, we have enough direction on that.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
consensus, I think, from the board that we'll work on an ordinance. I will also reach out to the Lakeside at Satia contacts and let them know. They may not know that their vendor did this and made these promises, so we'll see if we can try to bring some resolution to the property owner.
Okay. Are they still burning right now? Is that still
I
going on?
believe they were burning yesterday or the day before. There's more to burn out there, let's just put it that way. And I'll be in contact with Mike Vicente, the Region 6 Director for Florida Forest Service, and see what I can do on that side.
And I don't know if someone from Lakeside at Satia is here this evening. You know, it's just a first reading, so probably not.
And Mr. Hobbs, thank you for bringing that to us, to our attention. Thank you for sending those emails. Thank you, Chief Miller. All right, would anyone else like to speak during the citizens forum on any item not on the agenda? Okay, the next section of this meeting is the consent agenda. I'm sorry.
You're working off of the old form. So now we'll move to item 1 from council action up to this point.
All right, we will now be hearing council action items 1 and 4 at this time. Madam Clerk, please read council action number 1.
Resolution number 2024-206R, a resolution of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, approving the settlement agreement with Hickory Tree Industrial LLC to resolve the pending dispute under Section 70.51 Florida statutes related to the City Council's denial of the future land use and zoning change for property located south of U.S. Highway 192 and west of Hickory Tree Road, authorizing the mayor to execute the settlement agreement and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Scott Davidoff, Deputy City Manager. This evening, we'll be discussing the Hickory Tree Industrial Settlement Agreement. This is new for both Mayor Robertson and Councilwoman Paul, as yourselves and me included were not here when this was brought before the council previously. So there may be some new information in here for you as well. Just a little background. During the November 9th, 23 City Council meeting, the City Council denied the future land use change from commercial to industrial and the zoning change from highway business to industrial 2. Prior to November 23, the city had initiated a code enforcement action against the property owner to address the unpermitted concrete crushing facility. And the applicant has challenged that denial in the pending code enforcement action under the Florida Land Use and Environmental Dispute Resolution Act. The applicable dispute resolution process requires mediation before an appointed special magistrate. City staff and the applicant participated in that mediation with the magistrate on January 31st and March 4th of this year. City staff and the applicant had agreed on a proposed resolution that the City Council denied during the July 18th, 2024 meeting, and that resolution number was 2024-024R. To clear up any confusion, please note that on tonight's agenda item under recommendations, it states that staff recommends the approval of resolution 2024-24R. And as you see here, that was the recommendation for the item that was on the January 18th meeting. Tonight's City Council meeting is not that item. The item that is before you tonight is Resolution 2024-206R, and that is for the consideration and approval of a revised negotiated settlement as recently presented by the applicant. And staff's recommendation for this item is that the council act as they deem appropriate. In the agreement, the settlement terms contain, within 30 days, an application shall be submitted to annex the property, parcels 3, 4, and 5, that are adjacent to parcels 1 and 2 that were included in the original applications. And then within 30 days, an application shall be submitted to amend the land use and rezone all 5 parcels to industrial with a zoning designation of Industrial Park District I3 to be developed as a planned unit development. Planned industrial development. Within 30 days of that approval of the annexation, land use and rezoning applications, the mobile concrete crushing operation will be moved from parcel 1 to parcel 4. The prior proposed agreement was 60 days. They would then have 90 days to relocate the existing piles, and relocation shall be temporarily permitted prior to the approval of the required site development plan and/or the site development permit, provided the site development plan is submitted to the city within 6 months. And then within 30 days of City Council approval, the applicant will submit a building permit application to install a 6-foot masonry wall on the boundary of parcels 1, 3, 4, and 5 parallel to Hickory Tree Road, along with landscaping to be completed within 6 months. The prior agreement that was proposed to council only required that wall along parcels 4 and 5. Code enforcement proceedings would be abated, including the accrual of fines as of March 4th, 2024. And then per the proposed settlement agreement, the city would recommend that the daily accrued fines be waived and the liens released. On those code enforcement fines, on August 17th of 22, the fines began accruing at $100 per day. And then on May 1st of 24, those fines increased to $250 per day. And the fines would stop per the proposed agreement at $47,626, and that was as of the March 4th, 24, the second mediation date. The proposed agreement would then waive all code enforcement fines. And if the fines did not stop per the proposed agreement as of December 12th, 24, today's date, the daily fine total would be $103,876. Per the proposed settlement agreement, staff would recommend the following as part of the proposed PID. Reduce setbacks for areas that do not abut the residentially zoned property or Hickory Tree Road. Reduce parking requirements, elimination of interior open space requirements, and then additional signage. And then all uses in Exhibit C would be permitted, and the trucking facility on Parcel 3 may be relocated to Parcel 1. Additionally, there are operational restrictions that are proposed in the settlement agreement, and they would apply to the concrete crushing operation immediately as to its current location and after it's relocated. Those hours would be Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the current location, and then 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. after relocation. And it would be closed on Sundays, Thanksgiving, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, Memorial Day, Independence Day, and Labor Day. And the crushing operations would only be permitted to occur Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and on Fridays from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. The prior agreement that was before you in July had it until 5 p.m. And there would be no deliveries of material or loading and unloading of trucks outside of the hours of operation and the days of operation, and the machinery shall not be operated, maintained, or repaired outside the hours of operation. Additionally, for noise mitigation, immediately the noise from the concrete crushing operations on Parcel 1 shall not exceed 70 decibels, sustained for more than 15 continual minutes. And after relocation to Parcel 4, noise from the operation shall comply with the city's applicable noise code, which will be coming before you later this evening. Dust mitigation, all the piles shall be routinely watered at least every 2 hours during the hours of operation. And additionally, upon any request from the city, additional watering shall be done as needed based upon the weather conditions. And then no deliveries of materials or loading and unloading of trucks shall be permitted, again, outside the hours of operation. Outdoor storage, other than operable vehicles, shall not be located in the front of the concrete crushing machinery and building and shall maintain a minimum of a 25-foot setback from Hickory Tree Road. And any outdoor storage of materials shall be screened with opaque fencing materials, and any concrete, cement, rock, or any material awaiting processing at the facility may remain on parcel 1 until the facility is relocated, provided those materials are screened with fencing. And staff's recommendation, as I mentioned previously, is that the council acts as the council deems appropriate. And then this resolution 2024-206R, again, is for the city to approve a settlement agreement with Hickory Tree Industrial LLC to resolve the pending dispute under section 70.51 Florida statutes. And again, here's a map showing the facility. You can see all 5 parcels outlined on the map there. Correct. And then their counsel, I believe, is here for a presentation for the applicant.
Thank you, Scott. Would the applicant like to speak on this item?
Appreciate it. Good evening, Mayor, fellow commissioners. For the record, Brent Spain, Theriac and Spain, 1809 Edgewater Drive, Orlando, Florida. Here this evening on behalf of Hickory Tree Industrial LLC and Hickory Place Industrial Park Property Owners Association. So I know we've got a few new council members, and the existing council members have seen some of this previously, but I did want to walk through a presentation on the matter. The deputy city manager gave some good background information. I would just want to provide some additional context to the proposed settlement agreement, including how it differs from the prior one. So generally on the slide, that the star is the existing location of the facility on Lot 1. And you can see this was the original platted property. Mr. and Mrs. Wright acquired this property in 2004. It was platted in 2008, and Lot 1 is about 2.61 acres. And then per staff's request, back on a submittal related to this project, it was revised to include Track A, which is essentially the access road, which is owned by the Property Owners Association. You can see the aerial. So just to put this in context, the star is where the existing C&D facility is located. To the north of it is Mashmeyer Cement Plant. To the west of it is another cement plant. And then to the southwest is a truck parking facility that Mr. Wright owns. And then north of Mashmeyer, where you see a lot of disturbed land, that's the OUC site, which now has been completed. This is some of the existing city zoning, and again, I've highlighted the existing site just to put it in context, but you can see all the surrounding city property to the west is industrial on the city's future land use map. That's light gray on the left map. And then on the map on the right, you can see that all the property to the west of the main site right now is zoned industrial, either I-2 immediately adjacent or I-1, and then I-3 to the west. And then same thing when you look at the county land use and zoning, again, the existing county future land use on the left map you can see is industrial, anything that hasn't been annexed into the city yet. And then on the map on the right, top right, that's the county zoning. So again, you can see all the property to the west is zone IG, which is industrial general in Osceola. So some of the background, because a few of you are new, is this started originally back in the summer of 2021. Our client met with the city planner at that time, Mr. J.D. Anderson, and they were told that they could proceed with operating the mobile crusher at that time on the property while the future land use map amendment application and rezoning applications went through the process. So on the screen on the left and right, those are the land use and zoning applications that my client filed back in August of 2021. So the matter's been going on for a little over 3 years. And as you heard the Deputy County Manager indicate, the future land use change was to go from commercial to industrial, and the zoning was to go from highway business to industrial 2. That went to the city's Planning Commission in December of 2021 with a staff recommendation of approval. This is an excerpt of that staff report, but the staff report reviewed all of the 16 required review criteria in the city's land development code and recommended approval of that project at that time. It then came before the city council in January of 2022, again with a staff recommendation of approval and a planning commission recommendation of approval. In the first reading, as you can see, that staff report stated January 13th, 2022. And at that first reading, this rezoning and land use change was passed 5-0 with a comment on the motion to work with the city attorney for performance standards to address any noise concerns prior to the second reading. The next slide I know is going to be difficult to read up there, but the one on the left is important because the last time we were here, I didn't have this email. In fact, we didn't do a presentation back in July. The city attorney took the lead on the presentation on the staff report, but there's been much discussion about the code enforcement proceedings. So you'll see on the top right bullet on January 13th, and you have an email on the left-hand side by Erin Stirk, who was the transportation manager at that time for the city. In her email, she goes through and indicates that she had met with the applicant after the city council meeting at the first reading, and had indicated to the applicant that it likely would not be heard on January 27th meeting, and that it would be heard on the February 10th meeting. And again, this is in 2022. And in her email on the left, it's the second highlighted part. It says, quote, and I'm reading, "The property owner was perfectly okay with this, as code enforcement does not have an open case on the property currently, as they are awaiting the outcome of these hearings." So the applicant and the property owner was told by city staff that there would not be any code enforcement while the applications that were filed back in 2021 went through their entire review process. Surprisingly then, in February of 2022, the applicant, who was unrepresented by Land Use Council at that time, was told by city staff that they would have to do an updated application, that they would have to seek I-3 zoning instead of I-2 zoning. The applicant complied with that request. As you can see on the left, that's a copy of the updated application that was submitted in July of 2022. The applicant submitted an application to rezone to I-3, even though the city's zoning code has language in there that says you can't be zoned I-3 if you're not at least 5 acres. And my client's site at that time was not 5 acres. But the staff had requested it, so my client did it. August 2022, DRC, Development Review Committee, issued review comments that said they had no comments on that revised application. Then surprisingly, in August 2022, as Deputy County Manager alluded to, the property was actually brought to the Code Enforcement Special Magistrate. My client was hospitalized at that time, did not attend that hearing, so it's not surprising that a violation was found to exist. But as indicated by the January 2022 email from staff, it was always the applicant's understanding that no code enforcement would be commenced while the applications went through the review process. In September of 2022, the applicant provided additional responses back to city staff, and then nothing happened with the application. It sat. In March of 2023, that's when my firm got retained. We did a public records request inquiring about the status of the application. In the following month, the new project planner, Francine, who's no longer with the city, I believe she earned a PhD, so good on her. She had reached out to us and said, well, can you let me know which application you want to proceed under, the original I-2 application or the I-3 application? And we met with staff, the city attorney, the assistant city manager at that time, in June of 2023 to work on performance standards for the project. So the project eventually came back before the city council in October and November of 2023. And at that time, staff, a different set of planners, reviewed it and recommended approval of this project, both at the October 12th meeting and November 9th. So we've had 4 staff recommendations of approval on it. And again, on first reading on October 12th, 2023, the city council voted to approve the request. I believe that motion was 4-1, if I recall correctly. We ended up having a community meeting on November 1st, 2023, at the request of the city council. We mailed out 96 meeting notices, which is more than is required by code. And we ended up having 6 folks attend that community meeting and sign the sign-in sheet. There were a few extra people at that meeting who did not sign the sign-in sheet. On November 9th, we came before the city council for the second reading, and the city council voted down the proposal despite staff's recommendation of approval. That gets us to where we sort of are now. So what my client did was they exercised their right under section 70.51 Florida statutes, which is a alternative dispute resolution process. It's really so the folks don't have to litigate. It's so they can sit, try to flesh out what the issues are and come up with an alternative development proposal. So you can see the first page of our request is on the left up there, and we submitted that to the town, and then the parties jointly select a special magistrate, which is somebody experienced in land use and local government. And that magistrate is Miss Sherry Sutphin, who's a city attorney for many Central Florida jurisdictions. She's a land use practitioner. And as indicated, we participated in mediation in January 2024. We did a second supplemental mediation in March of 2024. And then in April and May of 2024, the staff and the applicant reached conceptual settlement terms. And that is what came before the city council in July. And then currently, our special magistrate hearing was scheduled for next Monday, December 16th. But I believe through agreement of the parties, it's in the process of getting rescheduled for January 27th to allow time to see what happens with the revised settlement proposal. At the July hearing, it's worth noting that staff recommended approval of the proposed settlement agreement. And unfortunately, at that time, the former city council had voted no on that. And there were a few issues raised during that hearing. And so what we've done in the interim is go back and say, how can we address some of those concerns? And that's why you have a revised settlement agreement before you this evening. And I want to walk through some of the changes. One, I was not aware that staff was taking a neutral position today. That's what's on the right is a staff recommendation of approval because that's what was provided to us in a staff report. And assuming that was the case, my bullet point says that that would mark the 6th time that the city's professional planning staff has recommended approval either of the original project or as modified. So let's walk through some of the revisions. The first bullet point is the same as previously. Our client agrees to submit revised development plans to the city within 30 days. These would include a voluntary annexation, an updated comprehensive plan amendment application, and then this is different than the original proposal. It's a planned industrial development rezoning, so that's I3. And how this is accomplished, as you saw on the aerial, is additional county property is part of this submittal. So you're bringing in the remainder of my client's property, so it would all be under the city's control. So there's the advantage that the city gets to say in how it gets developed as opposed to Osceola County. So you can see that it makes a true industrial park with parcels 3, 4, and 5. Within 30 days, we will relocate the existing mobile crusher from parcel 1 to parcel 4, and I'll show the aerial that was shown previously in a minute. That previously was 60 days, so we cut that in half. The material piles originally were to stay on the property under the original settlement proposal in July up to 180 days. We've cut that down in half in light of the expressed desire to speed up the relocation to the new parcel. We are immediately subject to performance standards on parcel 1 during that temporary phase. We've been complying with those anyways in the interim. And then there are specific performance standards for the mobile crusher when it relocates to parcel 4. And then within 30 days of the City Council's approval of those revised applications, Hickory, my client, or the operator would file the building permit application for a 6-foot tall masonry wall. And again, this, instead of just being along parcels 4 and 5 and a delayed installation along parcels 1 and 3, now it will encompass that entire stretch along Hickory Tree Road, which was a concern that was expressed back in July. And then we'd have 6 months from issuance of that permit to complete that wall, which would have a landscape hedge and trees every 25 feet. There are limitations on the permitted uses within the PID, and those are Exhibit C. One of those prohibitions is there's no additional concrete plants or facilities allowed within the industrial project, which was one of the concerns as well, is we don't want to see another cement plant come. There's already 2 of them there, so we have committed to that. Also, on December 5th, based on discussions with the city attorney, I did email an updated settlement agreement by which our client would pay $3,000 in the code enforcement actions to cover the city's investigative cost. The city attorney can speak more to this, but that's fairly common that those type of fines get reduced. In fact, in Orange County, I just had a reduction from $336,000 down to $1,500. But again, it's so that the city is not out of pocket for Magistrate Drew Smith's time and expense to the city and the expense of the code enforcement officer. So that actually is in the revised settlement agreement. And then obviously dismissal of all the pending proceedings would end up occurring. So this diagram was shown to you, but this puts the proposed industrial park, and again, you're not approving this industrial park this evening. What you're doing is approving a settlement agreement that would then allow us to bring this application forward, and it would be considered at a future public hearing. But you can see parcels 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 would all become part of the city under this proposal. So what are some of the performance standards? These are the performance standards for Mashmeyer that the city issued to Mashmeyer and Mashmeyer approved, and I want to just contrast them to what we're proposing. Mashmeyer has 4 conditions on their cement plant. No deliveries of aggregates shall be permitted between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. 2, every effort shall be made to avoid the banging of tailgates of trucks between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. 3, every effort shall be made to avoid backup beepers from going off on trucks and equipment between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m. And then 4, the loading of trucks shall be permitted at all hours without limitation, provided it is in accordance with these performance standards. So those are the performance standards the city agreed to for the Mashmeyer Cement Plant, which is adjacent to our existing site. And that facility runs 24/7. So our performance standards proposed, as indicated, we have hours of operation, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, Saturday, and this is once it's relocated, Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3. The crushing operations actually start later. They start at 8 a.m. They have to be completed by 5. And then on Friday, a difference between the prior settlement is we've shortened the time a bit more on Friday afternoon to ensure that no crushing is occurring when folks get home from work. There's no crushing operations allowed on the weekend. We've committed to being closed on every Sunday, and then as indicated, specified holidays will be closed on. There's dust mitigation, something that I'm going to show a slide that we didn't have in July, because again, we didn't do a presentation. But unlike Mashmeyer, we actually will routinely water our piles every 2 hours during the hours of operation, or additionally if the city contacts us because of dry conditions. The noise mitigation, you'll see no delivery of materials are permitted outside of hours of operation, days of operation. So we're not delivering stuff at 11 p.m. at night. It's within the routine work hours and school hours when most people are up and away from their house. And then again, no operation of loud mechanical equipment outside of our operating hours. So they can't say, well, we're not operating, we're not running the crusher, but we're out here with the jackhammer doing something else. That's prohibited. And then the outdoor storage, we've committed, again, that it's screened and it's set back from Hickory Tree Road. So again, compared to Mashmeyer, our performance standards, I would submit respectfully, are night and day. And then here's some of what we did initially. So this is our existing facilities highlighted in yellow. You can see there's a 500-foot circle around that existing location. There are only 5 residences within 500 feet of that facility. And then on the right, you can see that it's separated by 2 stormwater ponds and 2 mature vegetative buffers. This is a visual looking back from our client's property to the east. You can see in this picture across the stormwater pond, none of the houses are visible from this angle. To put some of the noise concerns in context, we actually did noise readings last year when this originally was going on. So you can see on the left-hand slide, this is the circle in red is where this noise reading was taken, and it's 51.9 decibels. That's including all roadway noise on Hickory Tree Road, 2 cement plants running, and our client's plant operating at the same time. You can see at the circle in red, the noise meter on the right is reading 59.1. So to put that noise in context, this is a decibel chart. So 51 decibels borders on a quiet rural or quiet urban area. Quiet urban on the high end at 59, and 51, that would be on the high end of a quiet rural area. And again, that's a noise reading taking into consideration all of the background noise in our facility running. There have been suggestions about dust and particulate matter. This is for the new council members to see this, but a citizen called in May of 2023 and claimed to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection that this facility was not operating properly. And the DEP does not come announced and let you know. They actually did an unannounced emissions inspection. This is the report on the left, and they do this now routinely, and they've done inspections since then. And you can see from that inspection by a neutral third party, it's not our inspector, that their particulate emissions and dust are minimal to non-existent from the crushing apparatus. Now, last time we heard a lot about that our client is causing the dust problems to the neighborhood to the east. And we unfortunately did not have these pictures with us at the time. This is the existing cement plant. And this is when it's flushing its phlegm. So you can see, in fact, if you look even carefully lower around that tower, you can see dust all around it, but the plume shoots straight up in the air. The suggestion that somehow dust from our clients' watered piles is traveling across 4 lanes of roadway, across stormwater ponds, and through a vegetative buffer, I submit was not supported. This, on the other hand, and these dust plumes being shot up into the sky, the one on the right, you can see how high up the dust is. It looks light gray in that picture. This certainly could be leading to the dust problem that some of those neighboring property owners have complained about. But to hold our client responsible for that, I think is unreasonable. And again, we looked at the performance standards that are on this facility, and our facility is already committed to watering their piles. But our facility doesn't do this. And this facility is allowed to run 24/7, creating noise and dust and the like, and truck traffic. There was also a suggestion at the last hearing that somehow our operator gets paid by the truckload, so they have an incentive to essentially churn and burn trucks. That's not accurate. We don't get paid by the truckload. We have our own employees driving the trucks, so that's some of what I want to talk about in our last couple slides, is the significant local impact of this business. One, we think it has a significant impact, and it greatly promotes infrastructure and businesses within the city. The last time I conferred with the operator, they had 23 employees, consisting of 6 drivers, 3 office staff, 12 on-site employees, and 2 owners and managers. 10 of those employees are St. Cloud residents. I think 6 or 7 of them live in the surrounding Kissimmee and Osceola County area. From an environmental perspective, it helps keep old concrete out of the local landfills and allows it to be repurposed. And then during Hurricane Milton, some of you may know, but C&D contractors, they didn't have to do this. They didn't do it to get accolades. They offered free sandbags. And I understand I'm not going to have people in the audience tonight probably singing the praises of this settlement agreement. But there are people who are very, very appreciative to this business, and I'd like to read some of these because I got them late this afternoon in response to when they offered the free sandbags. Thank you for this. From a St. Cloud resident. C&D Contract Recycling, thank you for helping my family and our community. God bless you guys. I hope local people needing cement work remember this act of kindness after the storm. Bravo. Thank you, St. Cloud, serving St. Cloud. Because of this, I will use your services after the hurricane. This is why I support and love local businesses. Thank you so much. I'm in line now. Bless you. They heard the cries and responded. We made it and got some, and they're encouraging people to come because C&D provided the shovels. Thank you, C&D Concrete. You guys rock. The 10 bags I just got from you will help my 87-year-old mom, and she thanks you. Tried to tip. They tried to tip, and no tips would be accepted. So again, it goes on and on about them being a good corporate citizen in St. Cloud. So I understand you're probably going to hear some things contrary to that this evening, but understand that that was done at a time of need and when Osceola County's sandbag locations were either closed or had run out of sand. And then lastly, just some of the local customers are very significant projects, including the city of St. Cloud. Until this process sort of got in the weeds, we were one of the city's approved vendors and the city actually used us, both disposed of stuff for free at our site and also bought materials from us. So again, we support staff's recommendation of it, which we believed was approval for the proposed revised settlement agreement. Again, the revised settlement agreement doesn't actually approve the revised development this evening, but it allows us to come forward to you all with that proposal. And again, 3 different planning officials in the city's planning department, starting with J.D. Anderson, Francine, and then Dag Marie, have recommended approval of this project on multiple different occasions. So again, we would love to get this matter behind us. We think this proposal does that, and we'd ask for your favorable consideration of it. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spain. And we do have a number of citizens here in the audience that would like to speak. Before I ask you to come up, I would like to say, we're all neighbors here. I know Mr. Wright's been here for many years. I know many of you have been here, so let's all just be respectful of each other. First up, we have Ken Polsinski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and congratulations on your recent...
Oh, time's up.
Time's up. Didn't even have time to say my last name. Mr. Mayor, I'm Ken Polchinski. I live at 2027 Live Oak Boulevard here in St. Cloud. I moved here in 2007 when I retired from the Army. This actually happens to be the 15th home my wife and I have been in, and we plan it to be the last because the next one will be a funeral home. So we want to be long-term residents here at St. Cloud. Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to share some of the things that's happened over the last couple of years where we certainly have been against this. Our neighborhoods, Live Oak Estates has been against this project from the get-go. I heard about the dust. I can tell you that the dust is definitely much worse since this new facility has started operating. It's just been pretty unbearable trying to stay clean over in the neighborhood. Previous meetings, some of the council members will remember that we had a sound engineer come in and talk about controlling the noise, and they're talking about putting up a 6-foot brick wall to close on all sides. The sound engineer brought facts and figures showing that it would take a wall at least 30 to 100 feet tall. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And talk about screening this from Hickory Tree Road so you wouldn't see it. Anybody that drives by that area, you can look. You look in that area, and you see where a 6-foot wall would stop. The mounds of dirt and mounds of debris are very, very tall. They do a fair job of trying to keep the street clean, but even with all their efforts, you drive down there, you will see dirt in the road, you will see fine gravel in the road, and just the traffic on Hickory Tree is just unbearable already. With OUC recently moving into their facility over there, with Mashmeyer being there, and then all the neighborhoods that have been approved and built out to the south down Hickory Tree Road. There's just an unbelievable amount of traffic going down that road. And having these trucks go in and out, this facility is going to be making the situation even more dire. I understand that 6 times professional staff members have recommended approval. Well, that's the thing. The staff members recommend. It's the city council that's got to take in everybody's input, listen to all sides of it, but it is the city council that makes the final decision. It isn't the staff members. So I just want to remind all of us of that. I thank you for your time, and hope we get to keep seeing you here.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Next, we have Jeff Shepler.
I'm Jeff Shepler, 2209 Spring Lake Circle. I represent myself, my wife, and my elderly dad who owns the house at 2191 Spring Lake Circle. This is the same song, probably fifth or sixth verse. Your decisions as a city council are long-lasting. You flubbed it on the Thompson Grove, don't flub it on this one. I emailed all of you, and I trust that you've read it, because I don't want to cover it again now. But I would like everybody in the audience to raise their hand if they live on Live Oak Boulevard, Spring Lake Circle, or from Hickory Hollow. That's an indication, and I think I can probably guess that all of them are against any changes to this property to allow C&D to continue their rock crushing. It seems like, I didn't notice it today because I was away from home, but it seems like every time before a city council meeting, the volume of rock crushing goes down. And then, immediately after this meeting, it goes way up. And it's significantly louder than it used to be. Speaking of the staff's approval or recommendation, do the staff live in St. Cloud? I don't believe, they may now, but I know that some didn't, and they were recommending this. I would recommend that C&D rock crushing or concrete crushing be removed, that they have to pay 100% of their fine, because the noise they produce is just horrible. My daughter got married in December, and because of her venue maybe not being done in time, we were thinking, oh, we're going to do it in our backyard. We didn't want a wedding with rock crushing roar constant in the background. This rock crushing facility, that property there, is no longer the edge of St. Cloud. It's getting pretty close to the middle of town. I'm one that does not handle white noise well. My blood pressure elevates. This constant rock crushing is like white noise. We can't have the windows open in our house because we hear the constant roar. Let's see. I just would ask that you not approve anything that would allow C&D rock crushing to continue operation there, and that they have to pay 100% of their fine.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we have Doug Matheny.
Doug Matheny, 2028 Live Oak Boulevard. I don't have a whole lot to say other than the past meetings we've denied it. I really hope you deny it again. About the moving the crusher 300 feet closer to somewhere else isn't fixing the problem. It doesn't belong there at all. So, you can build a wall, maybe a duck pond, whatever you want to do in there. It doesn't belong there, and I really hope that you guys deny it. Thanks.
All right, Steve Grooms.
Steve Grooms. I live at 1902 Leewood Court in Hickory Hollow, and basically, it just doesn't belong here, guys. I mean, if you guys lived in our neighborhood, what we live, what we can hear, you guys would not vote for this. I promise you. It's just not a good thing. All the traffic, all those trucks, it's just not a good deal. That's all I got.
Thank you, Steve. Next, we have Skip Stowers.
Good evening. I'm Skip Stowers, 221 Spring Lake Circle. And here we are again for the third meeting. Real quickly, I sent everyone emails, so I don't want to get into this, but number one, this place is illegal. It's not supposed to be there. Number one reason. Number two reason, the homes that are in this area were built way before this plant was allowed to come in. The plant didn't come in, and then we built homes around it. Number three, it's a huge pollution problem and a health concern with the particulates that are accumulated by breaking concrete. Number four, It's unsightly, unlike OUC and unlike Mashmeyer, who has done a very good job to beautify the area. I have pictures, proof of how unsightly this is. This morning at 11 o'clock, I'd like to give them to Ms. Clockers. I think I have to. They're all dated. And then I also have pictures that I did from an aerial view 1 year ago, and then about 3 months ago, to show they have done nothing to improve this facility or make it look better, or very little.
You may need to take off the plastic. I think the photo is in plastic. No?
What? Okay, next, because my time's running out here. Driving conditions are horrible. They're getting worse. We now have a Grace View School, in which I talked to the principal there, Mr. Elvis Urena. They witnessed 2 major accidents of the trucks coming out of this facility. Trucks have low gears. They can't come out quick. There's too much traffic as it is on the road. Very dangerous, getting more so. This company's done nothing in good faith to do anything the city has asked them to do. All they do is have meetings and are against anything anybody brings up. Number 7 is the obvious one. As the last meeting, they owe $80,000 in fines. The city wouldn't be fining them if they're not doing something wrong. Now, quickly, I want to seek a solution and a conclusion. That's my main reason for being here. This is a mobile facility. I wrote semi, but after listening to Mr. Spain, it's a mobile facility. You can look at my photos. Everything has wheels on it, including the rock crusher conveyor belt. That's the loud thing. It has wheels on it. In the last meeting, he proposed to move it down 400 feet or whatever it is, which doesn't do anything. So he said we could do it in 2.5 weeks. So that tells you it's mobile. Let's move it. And from what I heard from him, all they want to do is expand this facility. There we go.
You can finish, Skip.
Pardon?
You can go ahead and finish.
Okay, well, I'll make it quick. But what the solution is to relocate this facility. It can be done. It was done in Kissimmee when I had a business there for 43 years. Rinker on Central Avenue and on Neptune Road. The city worked together with them, and they were zoned to be there. And they got them to move their facility, and the city helped. That's what I propose that we do here. I don't control your money, but I would be in favor of waiving the $100,000 fines for the cost of their relocation, because nobody wants these guys to go out of business. That's not what we're here for. But it doesn't belong there. And the very last thing just to think about that I don't understand, you don't have to answer tonight, but why are there no occupational licenses for this company to operate? I mean, I had to have them when I had a business. And if they have them, it should be a county and a city occupational license. Every year, they should have that. If they don't have it, why are they operating? If they do have it, who's in the city and who in the county is issuing these permits? And I'll be quiet. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Next, we have Wayne Schultz.
Wayne Schultz, I live at 2231 Spring Lake Circle. I've been to all the meetings, and you guys have denied it all along. And everything that you all asked him to do, he hasn't done. Not the first thing. The dust has gotten worse. I mean, my pool area, I have to clean the filters in my pool every 2 weeks. I used to have to do it every 5 or 6 weeks. You can't open the windows in our houses. I got a vehicle parked outside. I wash it every week, and now I got to wash it every couple of days, or it's filthy and sand. And any of you are welcome to come over and see what I'm talking about. And I think if any of you lived there, you'd all be complaining the same thing. The noise. The other morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, dump trucks were banging their gates back there. Yeah, I could hear it in my house, and my windows are closed with the AC on. It's just, this thing doesn't belong there. It belongs out there where the garbage dump is, out in Holy Paul or somewhere, where there's nothing around it. You know, it's just a poor, poor thing. And as far as Mr. Spain, I mean, he tells you whatever you want to hear, but it doesn't seem like anything's being done like he's saying it is. So I just hope that you all stand behind what you voted before and don't allow it. I'm going to Skip, take that money and let him move. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Schultz. Next, we have Jo Marie Hemphill.
I didn't get a chance to contact all of these council members, but the ones that I did, I want to just thank you for your time that you gave back. It was really great. My name is Jo Marie Hemphill. I live in 1940 Jan Land, and I'm the one in Hickory Hollow that probably stirred the hornet's nest because I heard the rumor that this was happening. And thanks to a county commissioner, I was able to receive all the legal documents that was proposed, what was going on, and I was shocked. I'm a real estate broker, been in business here for 36 years. Moved recently 3 years ago from Kissimmee, where I was born and raised, and came to St. Cloud because I would love the community of Hickory Hollow. The paradise that we have has started to change. I get rocks constantly hitting my car on Hickory Tree Road, which that's minor, but I have asthma. I can't open my windows in that subdivision that I wanted to do that. It's really sad. But I've got a real question that I'm puzzled about. I talked to Urban and we spoke about the land use. I asked him what the land use was because I know that the county has land use and I understand you're revising it. But the land use that I saw was business, highway business, I think is what it was. Is that right? So how do you jump from highway business to one of the worst industrial zoning? How does that jump like that? I don't understand it. And then the other thing that just came to my mind is you have somebody operating a business. I have to have my occupational license for my office that's in Kissimmee. I had to have it when I was in St. Cloud and for the county. But how do you have a business that hasn't complied to the things that you told him to do, but yet you're going to reward him and accept his tax-based other county property coming into the city? And I agree, this is not the time and the place for this type of hard industrial. The last thing I question is, I see dark piles of concrete. Isn't that asphalt? And doesn't asphalt have the aggregate in it that is cancer causing, that we had the big thing that was down in Holy Paul about the trucks carrying that coal ash? It's when it's put into an asphalt, it's safe, from my engineering friend who lives in England, as long as it's non-disturbed. But once you start grinding that and crushing that, now you put that in the air for my lungs and my grandchildren's lungs and all the lungs of those children in the school that's across the street in Hickory Tree. Come on, guys, have a heart. Move this guy. This is crazy that you're allowing this dense industrial next to all the homes. And by the way, we got no notification of this. It's just by the chance that I stirred the hornet's nest and sent out lots of flyers and spent my day and my time and neighbors spending their money to print flyers to make neighbors aware. They had no idea in Hickory Hollow. And we're the one who's going to be on 4, right next. Do you see how the yard of the by 5 goes right there? And he wants to put a cell tower up. Somebody needs to speak about that next.
Next, we have John Harden.
John Harden, 1340 Beechwood Drive, St. Cloud, Florida. Also, I'm representing my mother, who lives on Jan Land. But since we had a grandmother that spoke before, I have an 83-year-old grandmother who moved into Hickory Hollow in 2000. I built my house in 1992, raised 4 children, and all went to Osceola Public Schools, all graduated college, 1 tech school. And I didn't know the details on this. I got the call from Mom last night. So I figured this is my first meeting. I'm interested. I appreciate everything, all the details that came from the LLC. I guess one thing I would like to also understand, I hear the mitigations for the noise. I hear the mitigations for the dust particulates. What I don't know, and I'm sure there's a study out there, but is there any effect on the groundwater and drainage? Yeah, we had Representative Soto here earlier who talked about drainage problems. You know, in 2004, when we had the hurricanes, we never had any flooding issues. We hadn't any flooding issues recently, but I know people that lived in BVL in 2004 didn't have issues. I have a friend that in 2022, you know, lives right off Osceola Parkway. He moved there before there was Osceola Parkway. Major flooding, couldn't live there for 9 months until that property was fixed. So is there a study on those types of impacts? I'd like to know, and as maybe they're not increasing production, but if they, you know, as he says, because he's just moving it, what's the what's the restrictions to adding more so that you don't have more additional impacts, and what's the margin of safety on that? So just curious, would like to know that, and if those studies are available, I'd love to see it. So thank you.
Thank you, John. Next, we have Jennifer Torres.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Torres. I live at 2057 Live Oak Boulevard. In fact, my house is there, so you're welcome to take a look if you'd like, next to the parcel 1 indicator on the board. My house backs right up to that small pond. We have a pool. I can tell you that there has been dust and grime and dirt all in the pool filter, our air conditioning. We have 2 children. I have an 8-year-old and a 13-year-old that were both born with respiratory issues, where we've seen a pediatric cardiologist and a pediatric dermatologist. So they definitely have allergies. We also have 2 canines at our home. My husband is a city officer, actually retiring very soon. We have 2 canines, detection canines, that are frequently in the backyard. I'm also a local school teacher, high school teacher, right down the road. So we've been here for many years. We enjoy living in our home. However, because of that company and what it's produced, it definitely has affected our livelihood, our home, our property. I can speak for all the residents there. I mean, when I'm hearing everyone speak about noise, I can definitely hear the noise clearly in the morning. Our school starts at 7 a.m. I have to wake up a lot earlier at 4:30 so I can get my kids ready, get myself ready, and get to where I need to be, especially my husband with his work. He has work very early in the morning based on his tasks and what he needs to complete for the day. So I can tell you the noise is way beyond any hour in the morning. I would say everyone's asleep, it's dark, we can hear it. My concerns would be just the continuation of letting it exist. I know a lot of residents, I see this room crowded of so many people concerned, but we live there, we're there every day. Unless you're driving there, unless you're there visiting a friend, you really won't know the impact of that. But I can tell you, being there night and day for several years now, it has impacted our home, it has impacted our family. And I just thank you for your time. I appreciate your consideration.
And Rebecca O'Neill. I'm sorry, this has nothing to do with this item.
It doesn't?
It's
Mayor?
not. No,
Pardon?
this is about seaplane flight
No,
issue.
it's about this.
Okay, is it?
Trust
Okay.
me.
Okay, well, I can see this, because that's, we're talking
Yeah,
about.
well,
the-
that was kind of my notes for me to remember what to tell you.
I see, okay, that's fine, yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine.
I'm Rebecca O'Neill, and I happen to have 2 homes that are affected by this scenario. We have a home at 1904 Leawood Court, and by the way, I'm there 24/7. The gentleman who said, well, we'll be doing this and this, and most people aren't home. I'm home 24/7. I'm a retired Osceola County school teacher. 25 years with Osceola County school teacher. I take care of my mom 24/7. She's 93 years old, bedbound, and we're there 24/7. So we're affected by this. Our other home is on Bullis Road, 5125 Bullis Road. When I read the documents that Joe Marie sent to me, that was from y'all, there was in the settlement agreement a mention of a cell phone tower possibility. I went, well, that wouldn't be good, because you may not even realize this, but on live
Live Oak Lake itself is officially chartered as a seaplane base. My husband has an amphibious lake aircraft at the Bullis Road location, and they fly in and out. Other people fly in and out, and they have people constantly. So a cell phone tower would be an obstacle for the aviation community, okay? And I think that's a big issue, because I would love to see St. Cloud more like Tavares, where they have the seaplane area and people come to visit and eat and have a good time in St. Cloud. So I wanted to mention things that other people didn't mention. Me being home, having 2 homes, the cell phone tower, and our wonderful community in Hickory Hollow is a home to generations in the same family. Their children were raised there. They've grown up, they've gotten their education, they've gotten married, and they came back. We have several families that the grandparents are there, the children are there, and the grandchildren. It's wonderful. I don't want to be run off for health reasons. My grandson has asthma issues. I want to take 2 seconds to thank you for your service, because it's a great service that you're doing. I can't even imagine filling your shoes. So God bless you, and be thankful. No, I am thankful for each and every day. But put yourself in our shoes. That's all I ask. Do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Thank you.
All right, would any other citizen in the audience like to speak on this issue? Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Jagger Grooms. I live at 1902 Leawood Court. And my main issue is they're talking about moving it from Parcel 3 to Parcel 5 to potentially avoid the noise for Live Oak. But if you look at Parcel 5 on the graph there, there's literally a house right below the dotted line on that dude's backyard is going to be a concrete crushing plant. So, and if moving it to Parcel 5 might alleviate the noise in Live Oak, which it won't, but it's just going to create a new problem of making more, even louder noise in Hickory Hollow, because literally Hickory Hollow is right below that dotted line. And that's really all I got. Yep.
All right, thanks, Jagger. All right, if that's all the citizens in the audience who'd like to speak on this issue, do we have discussion from council?
I motion to move the process.
Wait, I don't know if you want to let
Yes,
Mr. Span.
yes, sir, absolutely.
Sorry, Mayor, just a couple things, and I won't bore you all, but I do want to respond to a couple things. There were remarks directed regarding your professional city staff. As you all know, the city staff doesn't review it because it's Randy Wright's project or it's Brent Spain's project. They review projects based on the city's adopted comprehensive plan and land development code. That's their obligation. That's what they're hired to do, and that's what they do. There was a comment or a suggestion that somehow, because some of them may have not been St. Cloud residents, that somehow they didn't review it competently. I would just submit that that's speculation, but Hickory Hollow and Live Oak subdivisions, neither of those are in St. Cloud. You heard several people say, we moved to St. Cloud because of this in St. Cloud. Both of those subdivisions are unincorporated. They're in Osceola County. The remark about they couldn't have a wedding, the conditions, we don't operate the crusher on the weekends. We haven't, so that would not have come into play. There's a reference to the code enforcement order. The code enforcement order from May is subject to an exact same proceeding as this, alternative dispute process and it's been abated. It's been put on hold since then. There's been a suggestion that my client hasn't done anything that's been asked of him. Well, in mediation, the parties agreed to performance standards to be put into place immediately back into March. Since March of 2024, I have not received any call or my client claiming that we're violating those performance standards. I received one email contact from Mr. Manzares saying that they had received a call that the crusher is operating. On a day it wasn't supposed to, I immediately contacted Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright went out there, no concrete crusher was operating, and we confirmed that. There's a suggestion that somehow we're out there at 6 a.m. Well, that's news to me because C&D blocks their driveway so that a truck can't physically enter the site until the facility is open. So somebody couldn't be on the site at 6 a.m. Banging the trucks and making noise. Again, the banging of trucks and noise are the two cement plants who have no performance standards or when they can do that. You saw the performance standards. It says, to the extent possible, don't bang your truck tailgates. Joan Marie, I didn't get your last name, so I apologize. She had commented she's a real estate broker and indicate that industrial is not appropriate on the property, but somehow highway business would be appropriate. The site is surrounded on 3 sides by industrial uses and on the 4th side by a roadway. I would submit that not a single highway business would locate on that site, and that's why it's been identified for this use. It also is not the facility in its current location, as well as its proposed location, which is not, the last speaker I think mentioned parcel 5. It's proposed to go to parcel 4. None of the sites, either existing site or parcel 4, are adjacent to residentially zoned property. They're adjacent to industrial zone property. Stormwater management, that's part of the site development plan process, so we would have to address that, council members, at that time and demonstrate that, as you all know, you hear people all the time, post-development runoff can't exceed pre-development runoff, and we'd have to comply with that. A concern about expansion under the settlement agreement. The facility, if it relocates to parcel 4, it can't expand on any other parcel. It can't operate on any other parcel. And under the proposed industrial PUD, none of the other parcels can have a cement plant or concrete crushing facility. You heard a suggestion that ever since my folks got there, it's been horrible, and Mashmeyer and some other cement plant are great. Those facilities are much closer to any residential property than my client's facility. And as we saw, they shoot dust straight up into the air, into the wind. Last couple points, there was claim about impacts at night, and then we have these adverse nighttime impacts. We don't operate past 5 p.m. So we can't have nighttime impacts. If there are nighttime impacts, again, it's the existing cement plants. And then lastly, the comment about the cell tower, from my recollection, we weren't even the ones that asked to have that in there, and I see that it is a wireless communication tower would be a permitted use within the industrial PUD. That doesn't mean it's on parcel 4 or 5, and it doesn't mean that we don't have to come in and ask for approval for it, but I'm fine with just striking that sentence. We have no plans for a wireless communication tower, and I forget, it looks like it's in section 2F, little sub 6, so I'm fine just with eliminating that concern so people aren't worried about that. But again, we truly would appreciate your support. We truly did try to listen to the feedback in July and say, okay, how can we speed up moving it? How can we reduce the hours? And what else can we do to help these concerns by expanding the wall all the way down the roadway? So from Mashmeyer all the way down to the southern parcel line of parcel 5, you'll have a uniform landscaping and wall. So with that said, I respectfully ask for your support, settlement, and I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, Mr. Spain, you said that B&D blocks the driveway every morning?
Yeah, C&D blocks their access driveway. They don't
C&D.
block their roadway in, but at their access point, they block it, and they open it when they open for business.
Where is that at? Not Contractor Lane, but
Yeah,
for-
contractor lane, so it'd be up, coming off a contractor lane, so somebody wouldn't be on the site before they're actually open.
Okay, and this is zone highway business, correct, City Manager?
Yes.
This is. I think that's probably where, was it Ms. Hemphill that talked about it being highway business? All right, council members for discussion? I'm so sorry. Councilmember Fletcher.
It's your call,
Yes, we
ma'am.
can do that, yes. Yes, sir, come on up.
My name is Jeff Fiorelli, 2508 Cayleywood Court. I live in Hickory Hollow. He says that the site is zoned, or everything around it is zoned industrial. He's talking about parcel 1.
That's
They're
correct.
moving it to parcel 4. Next to parcel 4, to the west of it is residential. South of it is residential. Across the street is a school. So if he's moving it to parcel 4, to the west of it is residential. That's not even zoned commercial. I have it pulled up right here. So I don't know what he's talking about, how it's going to be zoned resident or industrial all the way around it. That is not correct. Thank you.
Yes, sir, thank you. Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
So I just wanted to say thank you to the community for providing your input. I had the opportunity to speak to many of you over the last several days, whether by phone or email. Thank you, Warren, Jaleesa, Megan, Linda, Michelle, Rebecca, Carrie, Carol, Tiana, Joanne, Jeff, Daryl, and Skip. I appreciate the time that you've put into this. This is something that we all know has been ongoing for quite some time. In the United States of America, you have the right to buy a piece of property. You have a right to develop that property, but I also believe that you need to be a good neighbor and a good citizen. Just because you have a Mustang that can do 125 miles an hour doesn't mean you ain't going to get a ticket. And I think that we all have to abide by, the rules that we set. And if you want to do something and there's a process that's defined for that, then you should go through that process. I don't see any effort between the last time and now from the applicant. It's the same that it's been. I drive by it quite frequently. And ironically, the photos that you showed of the other plant show me a concrete crushing plant that's operating illegally. That's what I see in the photos. And, if you start the process out and you come meet with the economic development team, I'm sure that we have a bunch of economic incentives. We want the 25 employees. We want, if it was in, in an area that wasn't, here, there's all kinds of stuff we could do to help you out, to increase it to 40, 50, employees and grow it. At this point, I don't think, I in any way could support this. And I also think that the city should look into injunctive relief to have the machine turned off at this point. I don't. And normally I would never, ever say that. My family, we own property and we've developed property, and if somebody told me that, I'd have a hard time with that. But the amount of work that has went into this is absolutely unbelievable. And like I said, you have the right to own property, but the folks in the audience have the right to quiet enjoyment of the property that they purchased. I know that there's going to want to be discussion, but I would make a motion for denial with the city moving for injunctive relief to have the machine turned off until the property is adequately, zoned, or however that needs to be reworded.
All right, we have a motion on the table from Deputy Mayor Fletcher for denial. And can I get a second on that, and then we'll have discussion on that? Is that?
Yeah, sure.
She does, but I think there's a motion on the table.
Yeah, we can get a second, and then we can have discussion before you take a vote.
Can I get a second on Deputy Mayor Fletcher's motion?
I second his motion.
We have a second from Councilmember Gilbert and Councilmember Paul.
Yes, as a new elected official here on the council for 28 days, I know this is new to, well, a couple of us, and it's not new to some of us. and this is a lot of information obtained from last year. I would recommend a further continuance to gather all information from the residents, as well as all the data that we have pertaining to this agenda item, because, I mean, I've read it, but it's so much information that you can't gather your thoughts in 28 days. So that's my input on that.
Okay, and that's a recommendation, or we're still sticking with the motion that's on the floor? Do we vote on that
Yes,
first, and then?
and you could take a competing motion to continue the item if you wanted, but right now you have a motion to deny.
Is that a competing motion? Are you making a motion or a recommendation? You're just commenting on it?
Just commented on it.
Thank you. So we have a motion to deny and a second. I would like to thank the audience and the citizens for coming out. Obviously, we hear you. I did receive all of your emails and phone calls over the last few days. I really wish I'd heard more outcry prior to the last few days, because it has changed. No, I'm saying I wish. I mean, obviously, I know it's maybe not your fault. It's. Well, hold on. I'm just making a comment here. Yes.
Sir.
No, I
sir.
understand. Sorry. Yeah, I'm just making a statement. Let me make a statement, please, sir. And I just want to say I do appreciate you coming out and voicing your concerns, because this is a serious matter, and we're all Mr. Wright's property is kind of sandwiched in between two developments here. I think pretty much everybody in the audience lives in Live Oak or in Hickory Hollow, and I've been around here since 1982 and very familiar with both of those. With that being said, I do believe there is a place in this city for some type of product like this. I think it's recycling concrete is a good thing. I don't know that it's definitely not at that location where it's at. And I don't know that moving it closer to another subdivision is the answer. But I do want to respect that Mr. Wright has been here for many years, and he is a neighbor of ours in the city, and I do want to work with Mr. Wright on a solution here in the future. I don't think that hitting him with all the 100% of code enforcement fines, I think Mr. Stowers mentioned that's not necessarily the solution on this. We don't want to financially hurt somebody. We just want to have a solution to this situation here, right? So I'll go ahead and yield to Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Mayor, I believe you have if there's no further comment, then we would call for a roll call vote.
Yes, we will. Yeah. Yep. All right. Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call? We have a motion and a second.
Councilmember Paul?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher?
Aye.
Mayor Robertson?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just one quick follow-up appointment, follow-up comment. So since it's denial, this was just a proposal to resolve the pending special magistrate proceeding. So that special magistrate proceeding will go forward. As Mr. Spain pointed out, we did agree to move the date from Monday to most likely to January 27th. I just want everybody to understand on the council that this process is not the land use and rezoning and annexation process that you are used to seeing. So the notice provisions are completely different in that sense, and we will provide notice as required by the statute for this alternative dispute proceeding, and we are not required statutorily to provide notice that is similar to when you're doing a land use and a rezoning or an annexation. But the administrative hearing on December 16th is not going to occur. It'll be rescheduled. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, City Attorney.
Mayor, if I could, before we
Yes,
move
ma'am.
on to the next item, I wanted to go ahead and apologize to everyone in the audience for the air conditioning that has broke. We actually have had staff on the roof, and unfortunately, we will not be able to repair it this evening. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we did acknowledge that. So and I apologize.
You mentioned that and they're all leaving.
Yeah.
All right. Madam Clerk, please read council action number 4.
Discussion and possible action regarding the lakefront franchise agreement.
Mayor, can we wait
Yes,
just
sir.
a second till?
That's why I invoked in the process because.
All right, Madam Clerk, council action number 4, please.
Discussion and possible action regarding the lakefront franchise agreement for operation of riverboat cruises with Toho Riverboat Adventures LLC.
All right, I believe we have Mr. Bobby Crisp in the audience here who would like to speak on this item.
City Councilman, Mayor, thank you for your time. I come here as an investor and also as a point of contact for the investment group that has a significant amount of money invested into the riverboat. Obviously, if you have any kind of social media, you understand that there's a situation with the owners of the riverboat, and they are currently incarcerated. Since that has happened, the investors and myself have been having weekly meetings. We've had one. We will have another one on Tuesday. I'm just here to basically tell the city and the city council that even though the boat sits over there and it looks like nothing's going on, behind the curtain, there are actions being taken care of or taking place. One of those is I have spoken in person to Mr. Lawrence while he's been incarcerated, and he has given us a price for the business. He's very, very passionate about the whole entire boat and that his business. So the investors group was kind of concerned that he would not give up the sale of the business, that he thought that, whether he was dissolved of these accusations or not, then he would still be a part of it. But that is not the case. He wants to do right and make sure that all of the investors are paid for what money is invested in there, and also sell the business outright. So I just basically come here to let you know that there are things going on that you may not be aware of. That's one point. The second point of it is Mr. Lawrence gave me to my attention that there's a contract with the city. It's due on the 15th of every month in the amount of around $1,100, and I believe that's for, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure. We were all silent partners, so we didn't always get in the business of it. But I did talk to him on a weekly basis. That the city has an agreement with his business to pay $1,100 on the 15th of every month. And I'm assuming that some of that's with OUC's cost to get the power to where his vessel is located. Does anybody know about that?
Yeah,
Does
we
that sound
can,
right?
we can explain that.
Okay. So what I also want to bring up tonight is, as an investor, I'm willing to write a check for the $1,100 for this month so that that permit does not, or lease, or whatever the agreement is, does not get dropped in a sense, because once we're able to find new owners, whether that's the investment group or an outside source, is in best interest of the city for us to get that boat back up and running, especially the holiday seasons. The snowbirds are here. It's I'd like to think of it as a shiny point of St. Cloud for tourism, for people to come here and enjoy this natural beauty of the lake. So I feel that if that gets canceled, then it's going to be even longer duration before we're able to get that boat up and running. The investors all agree that we do not want to have the boat operating until it is in somebody else's name. To me, that's common sense, and that's what we're pushing forward to do. So the second part of it is, after informing you what was going on, the second part I wanted to bring to your attention was that I'd like to see not that lease or contract be canceled, give us time. I don't mind paying $1,100 out of my own pocket to make sure that it's continued, so that way it's a smooth transition once either we take over it or it's sold to somebody else. And then the third and last part is there is a Santa Claus Christmas chair. There's several. I made a post on social media. Some of the investors thought it was a bad idea, but I think I'm trying to look at positive. I think social media, if it's done right, can bring a lot of good. And so with doing that, I made a post through several local organizations, and I've had a lot of people respond back to me. I've had a plethora of people that want to be the captain if we decide to run that part of the business. I've also had the accountant of this business, Mr. Lawrence's business, reach out to us, and she's going to attend our investors meeting on Tuesday. So there's that part of it. And then this gentleman who plays Santa, he come to our attention and said, hey, I didn't get paid for the last time I did this event, which we're going to pay him. Even if I had to pay him out of my pocket, that's just the right thing to do. But his Santa chair is on the vessel. So I need the city's council's permission to schedule a time that I can go on there as a spokesperson for the investors group, get this gentleman his with law enforcement being there, get this gentleman his chair back and get it to him, and that's the right thing to do. So I will need your help doing that as well, which is common sense if you ask me. So you have any questions for me?
Yes. First, Bobby, I can't think of a better person that's going to kind of take the reins of this and try and set it back on track. So we thank you for what you've done to get this back on track. Before we get into comments here, his request about the Santa chair, I was looking over at the police chief. Is there any way that you could is there a letter of permission
I
from the
think the
owner?
city manager has authority to allow him when somebody has supervised access across city property onto the boat, assuming he believes you have authority to get on and get that, because the chair doesn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if he
Yeah.
has authority to do it. I don't know.
He can't, but the council can't give him
We can't do
authority
that,
to take the chair because it's not the council's chair and it's not on city property. We can give him authority to access the boat, but not authority to take the
That's
chair.
what I need. I just need access to the boat, and I would like St. Cloud law enforcement, at least one officer there as a witness to make sure that it's just me, or maybe somebody else, I'm not sure how big his chair is, get it off the boat and we can get it to the right person.
Okay. And where this goes from here, I think maybe you discuss that with the city manager. I think she can
Okay.
help put that together.
Okay.
Councilmember Fletcher, I believe you were first.
I just want to say thank you. This is why I love St. Cloud so much, is because obviously, there is an issue and you got a group of St. Cloud folks trying to jump in and make it right. And you guys clearly see the vision. I do think between, I don't know everybody, I know we've talked, just like the mayor had said, I couldn't think of anybody else that could take this and make sure that it gets across the finish line. It sounds like you guys are trying to get it up and running
We are.
before the new year.
I was born here, been here 48 years. I love St. Cloud. We've had a lot of trials and tribulations with growth, and after sitting here tonight, there's no way in the world you're going to get me in either one of those seats up there. I can tell you that right now. But you can't. It's really hard to make everybody happy, and I'm one of those neutral type of people. I try to make everybody happy, and that's just not going to happen. So you don't have to ever worry about me sitting in any of you guys' seats. But I want to take pride in St. Cloud, and I want to be able to get this boat back up. It was not my dream. It was not my passion. But he did come to me with it and present it to me, and I was his first investor. And I thought he had great drive. It was a great business model, and I still think it's going to be a great business model. We just got to get it in the right hands and get it run correctly, and we can go from there. And it's in the best interest of the city, if you ask me.
And in my opinion, just the comments that I have, I would be willing to, and Dan can help draft this up somehow, of maybe extending I don't know if you guys have a presentation or comments regarding this, of extending the agreement while they're able to get all the legal taken care of. He's willing to pay the payment. The city's not out any money.
Well, one of the things, currently, the city manager, under the rights in the agreement, has issued basically a suspension of all operations of the boat and access to the boat from the city's property, which is what it is. This is a franchise agreement, so the city manager had the authority to do that. The suspension that was given to Toho Riverboat Adventures, which is the franchisee, it's not Mr. Lawrence, it's the company, was said to be until tonight, under the theory that the city council was going to look at that franchise agreement and decide whether you wanted to terminate it or not under the rights of the agreement. If the council's inclination is not to terminate it tonight, then we would suggest that that suspension be remain in place until a future agreement can come into place. Originally, we had thought if that were being the case, that we could put together an agreement and work with Mr. Crispin and his group to come back with another agreement at your January meeting to be able to do that. I don't know if your group would have the capability or the desire to operate the vessel between now and January 9th or not.
I don't think that that's going to happen that quickly.
Okay, so if that's the case, then really what we could do is we could work with him, we could come back with an agreement, have it on your agenda for the first meeting in January, and then we could, we can address this. The agreement says that the amount of money you're talking about, which is about $1,200 and some odd dollars, that's supposed to be paid on the 1st of the month.
Okay.
It's late on the 15th of the month.
Well, I'm just not catching this, so.
Okay.
Bear with me.
So there's not that it matters, it's in your situation as an investor, it's minor compared to what's going on, but there's a $100 late fee after the 15th. But, the city will clearly take your money.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The city's taking all the money. No, I completely understand.
But it is about $1,200 and some odd dollars, but you can get with the city staff tomorrow if you want to figure that. But our suggestion is then you let us work with Mr. Chris, we can put together an agreement. The easiest thing, and I'm not giving you legal advice, it's not my job to give you guys legal advice. The easiest thing would probably be to see if you get in control of the LLC.
Okay.
That has the contract. You can change the name later on. You can do all that. But if you can work out an arrangement with the manager of the existing LLC to get control of the LLC, then that's probably the easiest.
One of the largest obstacles in this whole debacle is that Mr. Lawrence and his fiancee are the sole proprietors of the business. So where if one was not involved in this, then we could deal with them and it wouldn't be such a big deal. But having both of them incarcerated, it has made it a huge challenge, of course. And I think our quickest and easiest for everybody is to get monies together in our group or to another buyer. Who I've had several buyers reach out to me, or potential buyers, and just get it out of their name and into our name. And then at that point, we don't need to worry about his LLC. We can get a new contract with the city. I'm sure you guys are willing to work with us, because you just don't want that boat sitting up there, and not being used.
So,
all right. Now, Councilmember Gilbert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chris, for stepping up to it. I know time is of the essence of Santa's chair. So, because I'm sure
You're absolutely
he's
correct.
losing money on that, and we
Yes,
don't want it, and kids are missing out that opportunity. So I don't know what legalese we have to do to get him to get on boat and get the chair. My company had been on that boat a week before with our Christmas party, and the chair was there before that. So I know it was there
Right.
2 days before, but I don't know after.
and I don't want to be a lawyer, but I guess I have to be.
For
It is a
many
little
years.
problematic. I think it's going to be a problem, respect to Mr. Chris, for the city to participate in any manner with the removal of that chair.
So tell me what I need to do, and I'll make it happen.
Well, we can give you access. I think we can say we can give it out, but I wouldn't recommend that the city police department participate in that in any manner, or any other employee of the reason is that is personal property that's owned by somebody other than the city, other than you, other than Toho Riverboat Adventures, and
I just need to know who I need to talk to.
Mr. Lawrence, probably, right?
Mr. Lawrence would give you, if he can give you some sort of acknowledgement to do that, and then we can work with the city manager, and we can all work together to figure out a way to try to.
Then the police can't arrest you for taking it if you give them
Right.
permission.
I got permission
That's
from
kind
him.
of the.
Fair enough.
I'm not a lawyer at all. My son is, and my best friend is, but a notary or something like that to get signed off on may work.
Stop giving him advice.
I appreciate him doing what he's doing. For full disclosure, I did give donations to that when it started, but I am not an investor in that. That I just donated for economic development properties. I thought it would be a good idea. But
I think it's a good idea for the city too.
thanks for stepping up. I can't
Thank
give you any more advice on council.
Okay.
Councilmember Urban.
Everything's already been said. I appreciate the effort to make sure that the boat is revived.
And I will try to continue, as long as, I work a lot of night shifts too at KUA. I will continue to try to go to as many meetings and keep you updated what was going on. What is the easiest way for me to communicate with the board, let them know what's going on?
With the
To
city manager.
There we go.
So are we looking to do another 30-day extension on the suspension? Or how do we-
Since he's indicated there's no urgency to try to operate the boat between now and your next meeting, I think you could put the suspension in place keep it in place until your next meeting. Hopefully, we can get together. We should be able to. It's not going to be that complicated once you got a good path forward as to how you're going to handle your end of it all. From the city's perspective, we have the form of an agreement. We can work on a newer agreement pretty quickly and have it on your agenda in January for action, and we can move forward.
We're good. All right,
So
do
we
we
would
just get
ask for right
consensus?
now- No, we need a motion on
All
it.
right.
Just, it would be a motion to continue to suspend the operations until the January, whatever date meeting that is.
I'll make a motion to that, continue to suspend operations till the next meeting.
Second.
We have a motion from Mayor Robertson, second from Deputy Mayor Fletcher. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher?
Aye.
Councilmember Paul?
Aye.
Mayor Robertson?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, guys.
Really quickly, so you know, the balance is $1,204.07. $1,204.07. That's not counting the $100 late fee.
Thank you.
It's not late until the 15th, though, right?
That's correct.
Is that, okay. So- All right, the next portion, let's see, we're going to move here. The next portion of the meeting will be public hearings. Madam Clerk, please read item number 1 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-62, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately plus minus 17 acres located north of Nova Road in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Good evening, this is Dagmar Segarra, Community Development Deputy Director. If it's the pleasure of the council and the mayor, we would like to also read into the record 2024-63 and 2024-77.
Go ahead.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-77, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation, LDR, low density residential, to approximately plus minus 17 acres identified as long residence located north of Nova Road, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severabilities, copies on files, and effective date. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-63, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately plus minus 17 acres identified as long residence from AC, agriculture, and R-1M, single-family residential county, zoning designation to A, agricultural city, zoning designation generally located north of Nova Road, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, copies on files, and effective date.
Good evening, Dagmar Segarra, Deputy Director. In this evening, I am presenting an application for a voluntary annexation, a comp plan amendment, and a zoning map amendment for the property located at 5645 and 5655 Nova Road, approximately 17 acres. The property is continuous and reasonably compact and adjacent to the city limits, and is within the JPA, the Joint Planning Area Boundary with Seminole County. The existing county future land designation is low-density residential, and the existing zoning is AC and R1M. These two categories are The R1M is a mobile category that the zoning that the county has, and the AC is agricultural. The proposed application is proposing a low-density residential for the city future land use designation and an agricultural zoning for this city agricultural zoning. The development is compatible with the surrounding areas and has no adverse impacts into the city's facility. This is a depiction of the location of the property in pink. That determines that the property is outside the city limits. All the yellow around it means the city boundary, which means that it meets the statutory requirements for a voluntary annexation. This is a depiction of the future land use map and the zoning map from the county. As you can see, the designation of agricultural and the land and low-density residential is compatible with the area. Staff is recommending approval of all three ordinances. The Planning Commission recommended approval on November 19, and it is the council requested action approval of ordinance number 2024-62 for the annexation, ordinance 2024-77 for the comprehensive amendment, and ordinance 2024-63 for the zoning map amendment. The applicant is here to answer any questions, and our staff is available also to answer any questions.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on this item? All right, does council have any comments? I'm sorry, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this item? And council member comments? All right, and can we get a motion on this, on ordinance number 2024-62, 77, and 63?
Yeah, we need separate motions on each one.
Separate motions? Okay.
Motion to approve item number 1.
Item number 1, we have a motion from Councilmember Urban.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, can we get a motion on item number 2?
Motion to approve 2024-77.
Motion approved from Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And can we get a motion on number 3?
Motion to approve 2024-63.
Motion to approve from Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Second.
Second from Councilmember Gilbert. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read item number 4 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-64, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately plus minus 17.18 acres identified as East Side Park property located north of 10th Street, south of Lake Remedy, St. Cloud, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Good evening again, Dagmar Segarra, Deputy Director for Community Development. This application in front of you is for an annexation request for a property located at 1310 East 10th Street, approximately 17 acres in size. The property meets the statutory requirements, is contiguous and reasonably compact, and is adjacent to the city's limits and meets the requirements of the JPA. The existing county future land use is low-density residential, and the existing county zoning is agricultural. This is the location of the property, depicting how it continues to the property, to the city, to the east and to the west and into the south. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2024-64 for the annexation of the property. Planning Commission also recommended approval on November 19, and it is requested of this council to approve ordinance 2024-64. And this concludes my presentation. I'll be available to answer any questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well.
Okay, first, would the applicant like to speak on this item?
Yes, my name is Stephen with Luxury Development, 4700 Millennium Boulevard. I just want to thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Stephen. And would anyone in the audience like to speak on this item? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and your address, please, for the record.
Tammy Simonson, 1844 Overcup Avenue. I live to the east of that. And so what does the annexation mean? What does it mean in layman's terms?
All that it's annexing into the city of St. Cloud.
Okay, and so the Luxor, what is their purpose of being here for this?
I don't know the step that they're at. I believe the city manager can answer that.
Well, first, the annexation means that they want to be within the corporate limits of the city of St. Cloud, so that any future development processes and procedures will be coming through our processes instead of dealing with Osceola County, because they abut the city limits. So we have an agreement with the county, so they have to come to us if they wanted to develop that property, and we would have to go through this annexation process. The next steps, within a year, they have to assign a future land use and a zoning designation. And then after that is really, I think, when we would have a better idea of what they were planning on doing with the property. And then there would be future potential plans that could be reviewed.
Okay, because they did a presentation to our neighborhood about what they want to do with that land. And then apparently they presented to you all last month.
They went to the Planning Commission last month.
They went to the Planning Commission, and I understood, I don't know if that's correct, that they were told no.
I'd have to ask Ms. Sagara to address what was presented and what the Planning Commission's approval.
So the Planning Commission vote was 4-1 on approval of annexing the property into the city.
So there was one person who voted against, but the
Correct.
majority
There was one member on the
for the annexation.
Correct.
Ma'am, you need to come to the microphone.
Within 1 year, they will have to bring forward an additional application for a future land use and a zoning before they can do anything else.
To do more of this.
Yes, you do. Wasn't it great today?
Well, actually, I'm going to be on your Citizens Academy starting next
you're
month.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah, you'll probably see a lot more. Okay, thank you. That's what I wanted to learn about this annexation.
And
Thank
I'll,
you.
I'll give you my card also. If you.
Mayor, I wanted to make a statement.
Did you fill out a card?
Ma'am?
Ma'am, Deputy Mayor Fletcher would like to say something.
So if you live right next door to this, so if they do correct me if I'm wrong, if they do bring back an application, you'll be notified in the mail. They'll send letters out to you.
Right.
Ma'am, you need to, ma'am,
You have to come to the microphone.
sorry.
So yes, we got notification in the mail a few months ago, and then the storm, we had a hurricane, so that got postponed. Anyway, so we didn't get anything else in the mail, but because I drive by it when I drive by it, I saw the yellow sign out in front of the property. So that's why I showed up this evening.
So we would do the notifications in the mail again. We would also put a sign in the yard, and we also advertise in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Nobody looks at
What's
the
the
newspaper, but
newspaper?
they make us do that.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience like to speak on this? No, we can't. Any discussion from council on this item?
Yeah, Mayor, I just would like to say I'm fine with the annexation, obviously. We had a really good discussion, I thought, at one of our previous workshops about future development on lakefront property and protecting our natural resources. So I'll just be keeping a close eye on what the future plans are for this, because I believe we need to be at the forefront of protecting our lakes and natural resources in our city. So my only comment with that, I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Urban and a second from Deputy Mayor Fletcher, and I'd like to go ahead and make a comment on that as well. I do agree we need to protect our the land surrounding our waterways. This was one, I believe, 5-6 months ago. I was actually on the phone with one of the council members here, and I was on that property looking at it and wondering, hey, this would be nice to, not develop everything on it. But, we're not going to be talking about that here tonight. This is just annexing it in. So with that being said, any other comments? Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 5 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-71, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately plus minus 1.64 acres identified as Palm Properties located east of Narcousie Road, north of East Earl Bronson Memorial, south of Lillian Lee Road, west of Puffin Road, in accordance with the voluntary annexation provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Mayor, Council, staff will be requesting if we can also read into the record ordinance 2024-72 and 2024-73.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-72, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation of low-density residential to approximately plus minus 1.64 acres identified as Palm Properties located east of Narcousie Road, north of East Earl Bronson Memorial, south of Lillian Lee Road, and west of Puffin Road, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation of proof of publication, applicability, and effects, severability, copies on files, and effective date. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-73, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately plus minus 1.64 acres identified as Palm Properties from AC Agriculture to A Agricultural zoning designation with low-density residential future land use designation, generally located east of Narcousie Road, north of East Earl Bronson Memorial, south of Lillian Lee Road, and west of Puffin Road, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation of proof of publication, suburbility, and effective date.
Good evening again. Dagmar Segara, Deputy Director for Community Development. This property in front of you is requesting annexation, a comprehensive plan amendment, and a zoning map amendment located south of Lillian Road, west of Puffin Road. The property is approximately 1.64 in acres. Apologize for that. The property is contiguous and reasonably compact to the city, and it meets the requirements of our JPA. And the existing future land use destination is low-density residential, and the existing county zoning is agricultural. The applicant is proposing a future land use of low-density residential city and a proposed zoning of agricultural. The development is compatible with the surrounding areas and no adverse impacts into the city's facilities. This is the location of the property depicting the continuity to the city limits, and the location and the zoning and the future land use designation that is compatible with the surrounding area. Staff is recommending approval of all three requested ordinances, and Planning Commission at their November 19 meeting also requested approval. City Council heard a first reading and recommended approval of this item on November 14, 20 of this year. And staff requested action approval of ordinance 2024-71 for the annexation, ordinance number 2024-72 for the comprehensive plan amendment, and ordinance number 2024-73 zoning map amendment. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and the applicant is here to answer any questions as well.
Yes, I have a question. You referenced it as a development. Do we have a layout of what they're intending on developing on this?
No, the applicant has only expressed to develop two homes in the property. He was also advised that if that's the intent, he will have to meet the requirement of the zoning that he's requesting of agricultural. But at this time, the applicant has not provided any development permits.
Would the applicant like to speak on this item? Anyone from the audience like to speak on this item? And council discussion. And can I get a motion to approve item number 5? Councilmember Urban.
Can I just clarify, so you said that the applicant is proposing to build 2 homes on this property?
During a pre-app application that we had earlier this year, the applicant expressed that to build 2 single-family residences. We explained to them that in order to do that and keeping the agricultural zoning, he will have to meet the standards of the agricultural zoning. He understood that, but he decided to proceed with the agricultural. As it stands, the minimum lot size for an agricultural property is 1 acre. In order for the property to be divided into acres, you will have to have more than 1 acre in the property. There's also right-of-way dedication that will have to be given for Lillian Lee improvements. We explained all of that on pre-app to the applicant as well. But he wished at this moment, because he has no direct plans, to proceed with the agricultural zoning at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
So you've informed him that it's impossible to put 2 homes on this?
We informed him that he will have to meet the agricultural standards to build in the 2 homes. He can build 1 home under the acreage that is available right now. But if he wishes to build 2 homes in the property and divide the property in 2, he will have to seek a rezoning.
So staff's telling him that although he's going through this process, it's the wrong process with his intentions of doing 2 homes on it, right?
Well,
Am I
his
accurate?
started at the pre-app was that he wanted to build 2 homes. But then we explained to him, at the most you can have 1 home if you want to keep the agricultural. And he decided to proceed. So we don't know if his intentions is later to actually divide the property in 2 and rezone, or if going with the option of just building 1 home.
Well, you mentioned, if I may, Mr. Mayor, you mentioned is the applicant here?
He was informed that the
I
meeting
mean,
was
this may
today.
be something that you want to continue until the applicant's here, because he or she's the one that's going to be able to answer those questions.
Seems like there's some confusion
Yeah.
between the 2, because
Yeah.
if he's moving forward with this, but yet you've already informed him he can't do what he's moving forward on. I mean, we can approve this, but he can't do 2 homes on this.
Yeah.
So we're wasting our time
there's-
on this.
Yeah.
I agree with Mr. Manzares on this. I'll go ahead and make a motion to move to the January meeting. Is that appropriate?
Yeah. I'll second.
Would that include including the annexation?
All 3 of them, yes. I'll make a motion for item number 5 to move to the January meeting.
You can do it, I'm sorry, for like a motion like that, you can do all 3 items at once.
All right, I'll make a motion for item number 5, 6, and 7 to the January meeting. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please read the roll call.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 8 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-74, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately plus minus 5.59 acres identified as Toho Marine, located north of Friars Cove Road, east of Glenda Court, and south of Canoe Creek Road, in accordance with the voluntary annexations provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
Good evening. We would like to request to read on the record ordinance number 2024-75 and ordinance number 2024-76.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-75, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation commercial to approximately plus minus 5.59 acres identified as Toho Marine, north of Friar Coves Road, east of Glenda Court, and south of Canoe Creek Road, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation of proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, copies on files, and effective date. Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-76, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately plus minus 5.59 acres identified as Toho Marine from AC Agriculture to HB Highway Business Zoning designation with a commercial future land use designation generally located north of Friars Cove Road, east of Glenda Court, and south of Canoe Creek Road, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
Good evening, Dagmar Segarra, Deputy Director, Community Development. The item in front of you is for an annexation and comprehensive plan amendment and zoning map amendment for a property located off of Old Canoe Creek Road, approximately 5.59 acres in size. The property is contiguous to the city limits and it meets the requirements of our JPA. The existing future land use for the county is low-density residential, and the existing county zoning is agricultural. The proposed future land use for the city is commercial, and the proposed zoning for the city is highway business. The development is compatible with the surrounding areas, and it has no adverse impacts into the city's facilities. The property to the northwest has an existing approved conditional use for both major repairs and vehicles for hire, and the subject property will be an extension of that conditional use, which will require an amendment to the existing resolution. This is the location map depicting the continuity of the property to the city limits, and this is the future land use designation and the zoning map designation for the county, depicting the compatibility of the area with the commercial future land use and the zoning request. It is staff recommendation approval of all three ordinances as requested. The Planning Commission recommended approval also on November 19, and the City Council requested action to approve ordinance number 2024-74 for the annexation, ordinance number 2024-75 for the comprehensive plan amendment, and ordinance number 2024-76 for the zoning map amendment. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I believe that the applicant is here.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on these items?
Good evening. Joe Thacker, 17 South Orlando Avenue, Kissimmee. We do agree with the staff's reports and recommendation. This is the applicant owns the property next to it. He has an existing marina or marine facility that does have boat sales and boat repairs and things like that. This is planned for outdoor storage of boats right next to it. And that site plan was submitted with the application so you all could have an indication of what the plan was. And we're here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
And any citizen in the audience would like to speak on these items? Your name and address for the record, sir.
Billy Rocker, 6128 Waterfield Way. I'm the neighbor, and we are in favor.
All right. Any council members like to speak on these items? All right. Can I get a motion to approve item number 8?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Councilmember Urban, second from Deputy Mayor Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And may we get a motion for item number 9?
Motion to approve.
A motion
Second.
approved from Councilmember Urban, second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please read the roll.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And a motion for item number 10.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Councilmember Paul,
Second.
second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read item number 11 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-80, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation, medium-density residential, to approximately plus minus 3.27 acres, identified as Tracy Manor, located east of Orange Avenue, north of East 19th Street, south of East 17th Street, and west of Crawford Avenue, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, severability, copies on files, and effective date.
Okay, good evening. I apologize, we just noticed that the presentation for the Tracy Manor property is not in the docket. So let me, I'm just,
Our PowerPoint, staff did not include it. No.
all right, so this request is for a, this request is for a future land use designation for 2 million density at a property located south of 17th Street and west of Crawford. It is approximately 3.27 acres. Also, the applicant is requesting a rezoning from R1A to R4 on the same property.
Are we also reading that second ordinance?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
We're gonna add that to it?
I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, if you could please
Madam Clerk.
read the
Final public hearing for
second.
ordinance number 2024-81, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately plus minus 3.27 acres identified as Tracy Manor from R-1A single-family dwelling to R-4 multi-family dwelling zoning designation with a medium-density residential future land use designation generally located east of Orange Avenue, north of East 19th Street, south of East 17th Street, and west of Crawford Avenue, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map of the filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, severability, and effective date.
All right, thank you. The applicant is proposing a rezoning and a comprehensive plan amendment for a property located on 17th Street and Crawford Avenue. The property is approximately 3.27 acres in size. The existing future land use of the property is low-density residential, and the proposed future land use for this property is medium-density residential. The existing zoning is R1A single-family dwelling, and the proposed zoning for the property is R4 multifamily. The development is compatible with the surrounding properties and no adverse impacts on city's facilities. The property is contiguous to the city limits, and the requested future land use designation and the zoning designation is compatible with the area. It is that recommendation of approval of for both ordinances. Planning Commission recommended approval in November 19 of both ordinance, and City Council approved first reading on November 14. It is the requested action of this council to approve ordinance number 2024-80 for the comprehensive plan amendment and ordinance number 2024-81 for the zoning map amendment. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and I believe that the applicant is here.
All right, thank you. And would the applicant like to speak on this item?
Good evening. My name is Angelica Rodriguez, and I'm representing Osceola Council on Aging, and they're located on 700 Generation Point, and I'm here to answer any questions that you guys may have. I'll answer to the best of my ability.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, and would anybody in the audience like to speak on this item? Yes, ma'am. And please state your name and address, please.
Elaine Sutton, 550 East 19th Street in St. Cloud. I'm not an official person or anything like this. I don't know how this process works, and I'm very intrigued and very grateful to all of you for giving me this time. I basically, as a resident, to whatever this proposal is that they're doing, we're just being notified about it. I'm just curious how this affects us and our lake and our area as far as future, what they're doing. For a little area that only has all water, I'm just curious how this is being designated as a compatible area for houses when it's, 10 to 12 feet of lake that pours into this proposed area that they're talking about. So I don't know if I'm at the appropriate place or at the appropriate venue for this, because you're saying it's annexed, whatever the legal terms are for it. I just want someone to, recognize that our little teeny tiny community, our little Benjamin Estates, community is doing our best to keep that little area. This is the last piece of area that is untouched by any development. And the fact that I don't have no problem, it's for elderly people, I appreciate for what they're doing and everything. I just want to know how it's going to affect our little community, how it's going to affect our waterway, how it's going to affect everything we've invested on our side on what they're doing. I just want to be involved. I just want our community to have a say or have a voice as in how much is going to happen with all of this, because it directly affects us
Yes,
and our teeny tiny budget. So I
and we
don't
do
know if I'm
appreciate
in
you
the
coming
right
to
place,
speak, and
but
that's
I
what
just
this
wanted
is
to
here
give
for.
my little 2 cents.
Dagmar, can you please speak on this item?
Yes, this request is in collaboration with our, for the city, for CBD funds, I believe, for the Osceola County Aging. The Osceola County Aging would like to expand.
We're not a partner in this application. We give them money, but
Yes,
that's not a part of this
sorry.
application.
Yes. So, with the Osceola Aging, Council of Aging, thank you, Council of Aging, and they would like to expand the units that they currently have on site. They have not provided staff any layout or concept of how that expansion is going to work. The property on the back, or the back of the property is abutting wetlands, and so they will have to mitigate for that wetland. But at this time, the Council of Aging have not provided any conceptual plans or any application for development for the property. They're just seeking right now the entitlements to be able to expand units for the seniors.
Okay, so the property is potentially buildable.
Yeah, it has some, they will have to provide a survey indicating the location of the wetlands and the buildable area. And according to the space that they have for the buildable area, then they will have to create their design according to that.
Okay. And I'm familiar with Council on Aging. They are good neighbors to the community, so they are.
I support them completely. I've been in the medical field for 15 years.
Ma'am, if you.
Yeah, you can come up and speak. Thank you.
I am totally for everything that they're doing. I support the community in that. I've worked in the medical field, and I know how that plans work, but I'm just speaking on a land, basically the last little bit of stretch where I got a few places left, my deer, the turkey, it's just a little wildlife that we have left. Everything else is being built around us. We moved here for this reason, for it to be a small town, but I get it. Business is business and progress is progress. I'm wanting to go with that, but I'm doing my best for my little community of 12 homes that I care about, that little 3 acres that we have, to keep it as natural as possible. And if I can have any input on it, as far as going forward, anything that they do, I just want a little input. I just want to know what's coming so I can prepare my residents, I can prepare the areas, and I can know what's going to be destroyed or not, or, for the better or for the worse.
Yes, ma'am. We
I'm
do
just
encourage you to
advocating
stay
for
part
the
of the
animals that have no
process.
voice.
We have Councilmember Urban.
Thank you.
So, if I understand correctly, once we have engineering and the site plan, it would come back to us?
No,
Or no?
it's not depending on what they're doing, it would not come back.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, because the development of R4 can be done through a site development plan.
Okay. Councilmember Gilbert.
Dan, is this a question for her to ask the Council of Aging what their plans are with this?
I think it would be, typically when you have these situations, the council will ask the applicant to get with the neighbors and give a good, understanding. That's what That's what good applicants do, because they want to be consistent with the neighbors.
And their
so.
neighbors would be the Council on Aging, correct?
Right, so I think you can ask Mr. Gilbert, frankly, for the applicant to meet with the neighbors and Gilbert. I'm sure they will.
And I think there's even a board member sitting in the audience. I'm sure he will help keep you informed.
I appreciate your time, thank you.
Thank you for all
You're
you do.
welcome, thank you. All right, and can we get a motion on item number 11?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved from Deputy Mayor Fletcher,
Second.
second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
And can I get a motion to approve item number 12?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Councilmember Urban,
Second.
second from Deputy Mayor Fletcher. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 13 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-78, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 24, Environment, Article 3, Noise Control, Section 24-81, et set, providing for severability, codification, and effective date.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin, Director of Community Development. This case before you tonight is for an amendment to the city's Code of Ordinances. Chapter 24, Article 3, Noise Ordinance is amended and replaced in its entirety. The purpose of the noise ordinance is to prevent and prohibit excessive and unnecessary noise and provide for the abatement provide for the abatement of the excessive and unnecessary noise. Excessive and unnecessary noise not only interferes with the quality of life of our citizens, it can cause adverse psychological and physiological effects. It can also cause accidents and other dangerous conditions. This amendment adds a section for terminology, standards, and definitions. It establishes the specific uses, activities, and circumstances which shall be evaluated against the noise levels and established timeframes for operations. It also establishes maximum sound levels and the method of recording the sound level measurement. It also establishes exemptions for emergency vehicles, equipment, and personnel during emergencies, city, county, state, and federal government vehicles on duty, public utility vehicles, activities or events approved by City Council or approved variances, yard maintenance or construction between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., motor vehicles operating on public right-of-way, organized athletic events, churches, or community events between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m. If there are any conflicts in the code, the more restrictive maximum level shall apply. It also establishes criteria for enforcement. We provided other remedies so that the City Council or any substantially affected person may bring suit in the Circuit Court of the county to restrain, enjoin, or otherwise prevent violations. And if you're like me, I had no idea what enjoin means, so I was pretty sure that was a great word that our city attorney threw in there. I Googled it, and it means instruct. It provides the city's enforcement officers immunity from prosecution for reasonable good faith trespass upon private property while in the discharge of duties. It allows for City Council to adopt additional ordinances as necessary to effectively administer this article, and sound levels shall be measured along the boundaries of the receiving noise site. Staff recommends approval of ordinance number 2024-78. Likewise, it is requested that council approve ordinance number 2024-78, and since this is a city-initiated application, I'm available if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that'd like to speak on this item? And if not, does council have any comments or discussion? Councilmember Gilbert.
Yeah, Ms. Dunklin, this is just addition to the ordinance we have presently.
It's actually a complete rewrite of the existing
That's what it
noise
looked like
ordinance.
as I read this and I read the ordinance. So we're scratching it and rewriting.
We scratched the old one and replaced it with this one.
Okay.
And
okay.
the real reason is, and Melissa did a great job explaining it, but you saw some of the ones related to the enforcement position that, options that tied it to technical readings of noise, which is what this is intended to do, because the way the courts have interpreted this, our previous ordinance basically had language in it that was too subjective to enforce. This actually sets decibel levels based on uses, and it follows technical standards, and it would use objective data to prove a noise violation.
That's what I thought. Thank you for both of y'all's response. I yield back.
All right, and can I get a motion on item number 13?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved, that from Mayor Fletcher.
A second.
Second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Paul?
Aye.
Councilmember Urban?
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert?
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher?
Aye.
Mayor Robertson?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 14 into the record.
Final public hearing for ordinance number 2024-79, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Osceola County, Florida, creating and enacting Chapter 28 offenses, Article 1, in general, Section 28-6, public camping or sleeping of the St. Cloud City Code, providing for finding, purpose, intent, and definitions, making the act of public camping an offense punishable by law, providing for program implementation requirements, and providing for enforcement and administrative procedures, providing for conflict, severability, administrative corrections, codification, publication, and an effective date.
Good evening, Melissa Dunklin again, Director of Community Development. This case before you is to adopt an ordinance to amend the City Code of Ordinances for public camping. A little bit of background. Bill 1365 took effect on October 1st, 2024. It was codified under Chapter 125, Florida State Statutes, and prohibits counties and municipalities from permitting public sleeping or camping on public property, at public buildings, or on public rights of way within their respective jurisdictions. This legislation creates a cause of action whereby on or after January 1st, 2025, an affected member of the public can bring legal action against the city seeking damages for failing to act to prohibit public camping or sleeping. Therefore, we are proposing the creation of Section 28-6, public camping or public sleeping, in Chapter 28 of our City Code. This amendment establishes a definition for an enforcement officer, which includes code enforcement or law enforcement officer. It also defines public camping or sleeping to include lodging or residing overnight in a temporary outdoor habitation used as a dwelling living space, lodging or residing overnight in an outdoor space without a tent or shelter. It does not include lodging in a registered vehicle where it may be lawfully parked, camping for recreational purposes where allowed. It also prohibits public camping and sleeping under Section 28-6B. This amendment authorizes an enforcement officer to issue a written warning, and if the person in violation does not leave within a reasonable time frame, the enforcement officer may issue a citation. If within 6 months the same person commits a violation on the same property, the city may issue a fine up to $500 or imprisonment not to exceed 60 days. This code does not apply when the governor declares a state of emergency in Osceola County or other immediate adjacent county. Staff recommends approval. Likewise, it is requested that council approve ordinance number 2024-79. And at this time, staff is available for questions. This is also a city-initiated ordinance due to the new statutory requirement.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
I just wanted to reiterate the fact that this was not the city's not saying, hey, we want to draft this. This is something that the city has to do because of the new state law. So I just want to go on record saying that. That's it.
And Councilmember Gilbert.
Secondly, are this going to be enacted January 1st, 2025? I know it took place, but I didn't know when it was going to be enforced.
So it became, the House bill was codified and became effective October 1st, 2024. The ability to seek, what's the word I'm searching for?
Seek damages against the
Seek
city.
damages against the
The cause
city.
of action for a property owner doesn't accrue until January 1st.
That's
So,
may I ask one question to the police chief? When it's called lawfully parked, I want to be able to explain to somebody that lives in their car, that's maybe parked at Walmart or Target or somewhere. That's unlawfully, is it not?
Well, if you're saying it's parked legally in a parking lot, then technically that's on private property. That's not for us to deal with. If somebody's living in their car, it doesn't necessarily deal with that specifically. This ordinance wouldn't necessarily cover that.
Okay.
So people, I think it almost has like a vehicle exemption, if I'm not mistaken.
well, it
People-
says public camping as defined does not include somebody living in their vehicle.
In their vehicle. So
Right,
there,
as
if
long
somebody-
as it's a lawful place.
Right, so.
Okay.
it has to be
Chief's correct.
lawfully parked. Now, if it's parked in a parking lot and someone decides to call us and say they want the vehicle removed, that's a different story, or they have every right to tow the vehicle from their own lot. I'm sorry, Doug Gerke, Police Chief, I apologize. I'm sorry, if you didn't know.
Everybody knows. I just may need that explanation later, so thank you
Yes,
so very
sir.
much for giving me that explanation.
Yes, sir.
That includes sleeping on the sidewalk on private property or
No.
on public property?
No, this only deals with public property.
Okay.
Remember, a private property owner has a direct immediate right to trespass anybody
trespass
that's
them.
on their property.
And then if they refuse to leave, there's legal ramifications for that.
So
So if you're on private property versus public property, this is merely for public property.
So like we've seen many times when it's extremely cold and on the church steps, a lot of churches allow them to sleep there, they're still allowed to do that.
On their steps, that's their property.
If the church wants to let them, then yeah, they can, on a temporary basis.
I don't know if we really have that here. I know Orlando, downtown Orlando, they do.
We do, Mayor.
We do.
And we're also adding, we've actually come up with a pamphlet of resources that we plan on sharing to educate people that are unhoused at this point. So that's our goal, is the more education, get them in the right location, right place. But unfortunately, we do have to have an enforcement mechanism if we do need that, which is why we're doing
Yeah.
this.
And what I think is clear, how this was drafted is, it was designed to do everything we possibly could before arresting an individual who's unhoused.
correct.
And unlike some of the other jurisdictions I worked in St. Cloud, they really did a good thing. The police chief and the city manager, frankly, working with Mr. Gilbert, reached out to some of the social service agencies, and we had a nice little meeting before we ever went through this process about what we want to do. So specifically in the ordinance, it requires the code enforcement officer or the police officer who first approaches that person to hand them information saying, here's where you can contact these people for help. And that's pretty unique in these ordinances that these cities are adopting now.
And Chief, I believe you shared that, I think,
Yes.
a preliminary.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct. There's a pamphlet, and we're doing a QR also, so if someone has a smartphone, they can scan the QR, and they can get up-to-date references, so we don't have to continue to print them as well. But we do have pamphlets that we can hand to them that will have resources available for shelters, for monetary issues, veterans affairs, things like that. So we have all the contact information in there, and we can obviously work with them to try to get them to their end where they need to be. So.
Very good. Yeah, this guy's awesome. Would you fly into the seaplane base and run right in? Like,
We have a challenge coin for you.
I appreciate that.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve item number 14?
Motion to approve.
I second.
Motion from Deputy Mayor Fletcher, second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and this brings us to council action. The council action section. Madam Clerk, please read council action number 2.
Discussion and possible action regarding proposed downtown Vibe projects.
Good evening, council. At the beginning of the meeting, you had me tricked, thinking council action was going to move up to the front, but I had to patiently wait for the next 2 items. So, Project Downtown Vibes, I'm back again presenting this in front of the council for our new council members. A bit of background. The Project Downtown Vibes encompasses a variety of, of Ismael Abreu, Strategic Initiative Administrator. Project Downtown Vibes, it's a set of projects, initiatives that we put together in preparation for some leftover funds from the downtown revitalization project. Back in August City Council meeting, we put together a list of projects for the council that was sitting down, and at that time, we didn't exactly know how much money was going to be left over until after the repaving of 10th Street was completed. At this time, we actually have a figure to show you, so bear with me. I'm very bad saying the numbers in English, but it's $428,377 left over. So Project Downtown Vibes, the official list, when we brought it forward, we added a few more after that and took some out based on council's request, consensus at that meeting. But we were proposing the parking lot behind the hotel, underground electrical wiring underneath New York Avenue, street furniture, and that is to be specific on Pennsylvania Avenue. We also have an electronic message board, Pennsylvania Avenue property safety fencing. I don't know if you guys are familiar. There's some compromising property over there that the city's trying to do its best to protect. And Pennsylvania Avenue lighting and protection, which has come up multiple times, and we're bringing it forward. Since the publication of this agenda item, as one of your many hats as part of the city council members, you also sit in the CRA board. Last week, it was decided to add the parking lot behind the hotel to be part of the RFP for the P3 parking garage. So that being said, city staff is recommending at this time that we recommending continuing building this temporary parking lot and not spend that money there with the notion that it's going to be put it forward for development anyways. So what we're asking here tonight is to move forward with Project Downtown Vibes, scratching the downtown, as part of the Downtown Vibes project, but scratching the parking lot behind the hotel, and staff is here to answer whatever question the council might have, and we're just seeking the approval of Downtown Vibes project list as presented.
All right, thank you. City Manager Miller.
Thank you. I just wanted to highlight the real purpose for coming up with this list of projects when the City Council decided to remove the bricks and move forward with asphalt. You know, that was a savings to the project, and we felt it was really important to return that money back into another way to benefit the downtown. So I just wanted to highlight that. I also wanted to explain to you the $3,000 regarding the fence. There's a property owner, Mr. Alan Pepin, on Pennsylvania Avenue. I think some of you have spoken to him, but the new members may not have had an opportunity. He brought to our attention immediately that his balcony goes over the sidewalk, and he has some support beams that he is concerned are at risk for a car hitting when they're parking, and was asking if, originally he had asked if we could put up fencing like the movie theater. At the time, we worked and we actually worked with him to put the big planters in front because we thought those things are so big. We used heavy equipment to put them there that nobody would, that would protect his building and draw some landscaping and be a nice amenity. And there was a group of a biker club that they all picked up those planters and moved them. So we've decided we need to do something a little more permanent. So $3,000 seems like an easy way to help him protect that. So I just wanted to highlight what that was, since it is a historic building.
Okay, and that is the property at 11th and Pennsylvania. It's one property over from that?
It's on the east side,
Yeah.
right. Mhm.
Okay. And you're saying that we put some planters, so we're talking about taking up a parking spot to
There
protect
is
that?
not, it's not parking there. Because of those pillars and there was a storm water grate, if I remember correctly. So it was not supposed to be parking, but people keep treating it as parking. And then the motorcycles are the ones who, I think they keep trying to use it. And those provide just as much of a risk to his structure. So we're trying to prevent anything.
Okay. Councilmember Gilbert.
Now, taking away the 150, will we be able to afford everything else?
Correct, and I believe the intent is to come back later with any additional projects that we might find to complete the amount.
Yeah, and that's good. I walked over that fence. The thing about those planter boxes is you just tilt them, they roll. They go around. Yeah, so that's how they get moved.
When you say a fence, what did that mean?
So we're going to be doing kind of the wrought iron fence that's in front of the movie theater that stops children from running into 10th Street.
I like it.
It's that same, that is what I have been told by staff. That's the same thing that we're looking to do. Are you okay, Mr. Manzares?
You got a vote?
I have cough drops.
All right. All right, and can I get a motion to approve the council action number 2? Gilbert, Councilmember,
I'm
you
done.
done?
I'm so sorry. I
You're
did
fine.
not-
Just want to make sure we're good. We have a motion from Councilmember Urban?
Was there any public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any public comment on this item? Is there public comment on these kinds?
I don't know, but the attorney walked away.
It's up to
Okay.
Mayor.
No public comment. We have a motion to approve from Councilmember Urban,
Second.
second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and Madam Clerk, please read council action number 3 into the record.
Discussion and possible action regarding the proposed legislative ask list.
All right. Last but not least, the 2025 legislative ask list. This is a yearly process that we do with our city council in preparation for our state and federal legislative cycle. The projects that are going to be presented to you tonight were vetted in consultation with our city lobbyists. They have been determined to have the best chance of making it through the grind of the legislative sessions, as well as are by internal policies, projects that are actively funded or partially funded. In case we don't get the full ask, we are not scrambling to find money somewhere. So under the effective community safety key focus area in our strategic plan, we're proposing 3 appropriations for this upcoming legislative cycle, starting with a new fire rescue vote for our fire department, East Lake Toho damming system, and the Hopkins Park stormwater system as our proposed project for this year's legislative ask cycle. Staff recommends approval of this short but mighty list, and we are requesting that the City Council gives its blessing as well. And I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? All right, and Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
I'd just like to make a real quick comment. Thank you to staff for putting this together. And then also, it's always nice to see Hopkins Park anytime that comes across my screen. It makes me happy. So I'm glad to move, or I'm happy to move forward with what staff has proposed here.
And City Manager Miller?
I just wanted to add that we'd like to prioritize 1 and 3. The East Lake Toho damming system is our last choice. We typically only take 2 requests forward, so I would like you to support them in that order. 1, 3, and then 2.
Okay, perfect. I'll make 3 number 2.
And now this is the, through Gray Robinson, but what about through Olay? Have they determined what issue?
So the way the process has typically worked is we decide what our priorities are, I will have an OLE meeting, and at the OLE meeting, I have to get support from the members of OLE on a city project. I would assume the fire rescue boat would be an OLE project because it will benefit all of the governments, because Kissimmee is on East Lake Tahoe, the county is on East Lake Tahoe, and the school district even has property on East Lake Tahoe. I've brought projects forward before where I was told that didn't have any connection to them. So we tried hard to find something that hopefully they could get behind.
Can I ask the fire chief, please speak on this fireboat?
Our Jason Miller, Fire Chief. Our current fireboat is a 1988 Boston Whaler. I don't even think some people in this room might have been born around that time, but for those of us that were, it was a good year, I guess. I think Buffalo went to the Super Bowl, but I digress. This is basically phase 2 of the fire rescue boat. Phase 1 is being handled through the CBDG block grant money that we received. So this would be, we're asking for, saying we already have the first half, and we're asking them for a match. We are long overdue for a full-service fireboat that we can perform rescues off of without having to lift people up over the side of the high gunnels. We are planning on having a fire pump available on that boat. Larger than normal, it will be able to do a regional response in time, but we're looking at eventually keeping it down at the lake full-time for a quick deployment. As it currently sits, we have to load the boat onto a truck, run it down there, deploy off the trailer into the lake. We lose a lot of time doing that, as you can imagine. Having a boathouse long-term down there with this on a lift, going over and pressing a button, dropping in the water, and off we go, could save some lives. So that's what our end goal is.
All right, with a boathouse, would that also house the police boats? We could do a joint use?
We'd love to do it both down there.
Public safety.
But that's not in this grant.
It's not in this grant. I'm giving you the big long-term picture is we would have a boathouse that we would be right next to each other, press the button, and we'd both be out the door.
Very cool.
When we'd look a lot cooler than Baywatch.
Maybe the
Okay.
boat would.
Who's Hasselhoff in here? All right. And can I get a motion on council action number 3?
I move to approve it being 1, 3, and 2 in the order of request, please.
All right, we have a motion from Councilmember Gilbert for order 1, 3, and 2.
I second.
And a second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right, and the next section of this meeting is the first reading and introduction section. The next items on the agenda are ordinances for the council for first reading and introduction for the sole purpose of the council to authorize the publication of the ordinance for a final hearing. The council will not take final action on the item tonight. If you have questions on these items, please see city staff in the back of chambers. Full presentations and public input on the ordinances will occur at final hearing, at which the council will consider final action. Madam Clerk, please read item number 1 into the record.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-82, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, to annex into the City of St. Cloud approximately plus minus 1.13 acres identified as Tavares Santiago, located east of Orange Avenue, north of East 10th Street, south of East 5th Street, and west of Rosedale Avenue, in accordance with the voluntary annexations provisions of Chapter 171.044 Florida statutes.
All right, can I get a motion for approval, ordinance number 2024-82?
Motion approved.
We have a motion from Deputy Mayor Fletcher, second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 2 into the record.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-83, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, assigning a future land use designation of park and open space to approximately plus minus 6.61 acres identified as Hopkins Park improvements located east of Orange Avenue, north of East 17th Street, south of East Earl Bronson Memorial, and west of Crawford Avenue, providing for amending the official future land use map of the comprehensive plan, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, applicability and effect, subrogabilities, copies on files, and effective date.
And can I get a motion for the approval of ordinance number 2024-83?
Motion to approve.
Motion from Deputy Mayor Fletcher,
I second.
second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 3 into the record.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-84, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, providing for the zoning amendment of the zoning map of the Land Development Code of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, specifically changing the zoning designation of approximately plus minus 6.61 acres identified as Hopkins Park improvements from A, agriculture, to P, professional, R-1A, single-family dwelling, and R-2, single and two-family dwellings, to OR, open space and recreational zoning designation with a park and open space future land use designation generally located east of Orange Avenue, north of East 17th Street, south of East Earl Bronson Memorial, and west of Crawford Avenue, providing for entering the designation on the official zoning map, filing of the Planning Commission recommendation and proof of publication, subrogability, and effective date.
All right, can I get a motion for the approval of ordinance number 2024-84?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved, Deputy Mayor Fletcher,
I second.
second from Councilmember Paul. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Madam Clerk, please read item number 4 into the record.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-85, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, establishing on the proposed property known as Lake at Satilla and further described herein, and recognizing the Lakeside at Satilla Community Development District created and chartered by Uniform General Law, the Uniform Community Development District Act of Florida, Chapter 190, Florida Statutes 2001, and hereafter, acknowledging the Uniform District Charter expressed in sections 190.006 through 190.041 Florida statutes, and as referenced and provided by section 190.044, section 4 Florida statutes, and confirmed by section 189.031, section 3 Florida statutes, establishing the district on the property proposed in this petition, and designated the initial members of the District Board of Supervisors, and recognizing and designating the powers of the district, providing for subrogability and effective date.
And can I get a motion for the approval of ordinance number 2024-85?
Motion to approve. Hold on. Let's see. Do you have some?
Oh, there's no readings on these, or no, there's no public comment on these, right?
That's correct. That's your process.
I'm sorry. Just don't raise his hand.
Very good.
I'll second the motion.
Who made the motion to approve? No, I don't think you made a motion to approve it. You did. Deputy Mayor Fletcher made the motion to approve. Second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
I apologize about that.
No, you're fine. I'm going to give Claudia a second. Are you good? Okay. It's a lot to read. The last one, you were powering through it.
I'm like a Bismael with the numbers.
All right.
First reading and introduction for ordinance number 2024-86, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of St. Cloud, Florida, amending Chapter 2, Development Process, Procedures, and Permits, Article 4, Subdivision Plans, Sections 2.4.1 through 2.4.12 of the Land Development Code to update procedures for platting and vacating of easements, providing for subrogability, conflict, administrative corrections, codification, publication, and an effective date.
And can I get a motion to approve for the approval of ordinance number 2024-86?
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion approved from Deputy Mayor Fletcher. Second from Councilmember Urban. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Paul.
Aye.
Councilmember Urban.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilbert.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
Aye.
Mayor Robertson.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
All right. And next section, city attorney, do you have anything to?
I do not have anything, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much. Other than wish everybody a Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir, Merry Christmas to you. And city manager, Miller.
I just want to also wish everybody Merry Christmas. Thank the city council for coming last weekend to the tree lighting and the parade. It was a really busy weekend, but it's the best weekend of the year, in my opinion. And I think I may have individually told you, but I'd like to make sure I tell you all as a group that we have heard that Spectrum was going to come to our New Year's Eve party on New Year's Eve, and we'll be broadcasting from St. Cloud throughout the evening. So we're going to have some opportunity for some great exposure for a lot of the projects and the things that we have ongoing. So really big kudos to our communications department for making that happen, and also all the people that are working on that event. It's going to be spectacular. I think there's a council member that was given permission by the city council previously to be on that planning committee, so maybe he can give us a sneak peek when it's his turn to speak. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you. That's all.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember Paul?
I wanted to publicly say, the other day I texted Chief Gerke and let him know about one of his officers being a good neighbor, was helping a community member out. Their car had stalled out, and he literally was pushing the car into the parking lot. So wanted to rave about that, and I did text him to give him his kudos, and I also seen him earlier today or yesterday and let him know thank you. So, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you. And Councilmember Urban?
Last council meeting of the year, just want to reflect and give my thanks to everybody here at the city staff for making our job easy. We've accomplished so much this year, and I really do look forward to working with this council and with our city staff in the next year, in 2025. Wishing everybody a Merry Christmas, God bless, and we'll see you at Rock in the Cloud.
Councilmember Gilbert?
I don't want to be a Grinch, but today during that meeting with Hickory Tree, I thought there was some heckling going on and a little bit, could have got a little rowdy. I don't know how, maybe ask you how we control it. It's not a bad thing, but the presenter was going up and they're yapping in the back, and then they're clapping after every presentation, which, you know, I'm okay with that, but the order of this council needs to be in order. So I don't know how we deal with that or handle that. And again, I don't mind people being excited. They show up, they come, they take time out of the schedule, but also the presenter at that time, they were heckling him too. So I don't know how we address that in the future, but.
Well,
It's me.
the
If you
mayor.
call point of order, then I'll address it.
Oh, is that what I did? Okay.
Yeah, just call point of order, Mayor, and then I'll.
Is that, okay.
Yeah, that's how he controls the quorum of the meeting. That's why.
Yeah, and there were a few times it did get a little, you're right. And I tried to address that ahead of time, be respectful of him, and I think there were times that
And people are
emotions.
emotional, that just takes place, but I just, where we're at here as a professional setting, and I want to continue to keep it that way. But, again, I know people are emotional. I mean, you see how many people show up just for that. So, you know, I appreciate the citizens taking time out of their hands, so, I'll ask you next time. I just
Yeah,
didn't
just
know-
say point of
I didn't
order,
know
Mayor,
how to do that. And, for the, New Year's, I advised that on the committee. However, it's going to, it was mid-year, so there'll be some things this year, but we're going to build on that success for the next year, and starting January 2nd of 2025, we will be launching a better ad campaign, a better sponsor campaign, a better step and repeat campaign, because when you get halfway through the year, a lot of those sponsors have already spent their money or allocated that money. But if we're going to start, and maybe we can put different signs up for NECM and things like that, because let's face it, we get 7,000 people down here, and you tell NECM or the toy show that or Legoland that comes to NECM, that comes to Osceola Heritage Park, we get that sponsorship, we can do a lot more with that money in the city. So we looked at, and we met with the staff, which does a great job. I think Parks and Rec does a great job. The one gentleman's been doing it for years. But we've also talked about, and this sounds pretty weird, but if you look at the side of the building that's east, a lot of people park and come there. We can put banners on the side of the city hall that welcomes them by sponsors with Meekum and things such as that, which will add additional revenue. We spent $125,000, I say, last year.
I'm so sorry, I can provide that information.
No,
I
you
know
don't
I've
have
provided
to-
it
you don't have to
previously.
Top of my head, but when we did the math, there was over $300,000 spent on that one thing, so that's great for our vendors. How we convince those vendors to continue
Mr. Gilbert, could you speak into the microphone?
Oh.
Because anybody watching
Okay.
cannot hear you unless
I'm
you speak
sorry.
into the
How we
microphone.
get the shops to stay open, a lot of them say because of bathroom issues and stuff like that, maybe put different vendors, but there's sponsorships even in those restaurants that people could sell tickets for $50. You go in there, eat, and then come see the show. So we'll be working on that more January 2025 than we did because of the time constraints and the budget constraints within the people that we look for sponsorship for. So that's the update I got. It will be nicer this year. It will be nicer next year, and we'll continue to grow. Because I believe, like they said, the parade was 10,000 last year, 12. There was plenty more than that this year just by head count. So I believe that Rockin' and Cloud. And my response I got back from keeping local bands here was a huge yes versus bringing in big talent, which we did, which I thought Uncle Cracker was great at 50,000. But if we spread that love around to Silkwood and things like that, and Spanish bands and rock bands and Christian and just make it an event. So that's what we're looking at doing to make it not just the nighttime, but making it another event. Because I think St. Cloud's is the best place for events. It's built for events.
And they've had super villains in the past.
Super villains and things, yeah, just different for every walk of life to be able to listen to those. And yeah, I'm a Motown guy myself, but that's just because I was born in '60. So I yield back. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. And Deputy Mayor Fletcher.
I got just a couple things. First of all, thank you to staff for the amazing Christmas tree that you put in the council chambers for us this evening. And
Go Kelly.
another thank you to our wonderful police department and everything that they do, especially with the events that were spoken of earlier. So thank you, Chief, and your leadership over there. The Lantern Festival, which I brought up last time, was a success. I had the opportunity to speak with the folks who put that on, and I had asked staff to see if they could provide us with the attendance numbers, and it was around 6,700 people were able to visit our city and enjoy our restaurants and whatnot. The final thing that I have, which is the more important one, is at our previous CRA meeting, we had discussed, and if you can help guide me along what CRA, what city council, and whatnot, we had discussed the P3 project of putting it out again for bid because we know that we didn't get a response. I think that, and I had spoken with Coop about this, and I kind of had mentioned it in the CRA meeting, was maybe going ahead with the parking garage on our own, and then financing it through, so we have like 1.8 million in the CRA now, and then with the term of the CRA as it's currently existing, our finance director thinks that we have enough, the length of the CRA is there long enough that we could get financing to actually build the parking structure on our own. I think if we did that and then sent the P3 out, I think it would be more exciting per se to the developers who would come in and want to submit for the P3 because you're not going to spend $6-7 million on 100 and however many parking spaces. They'll be able to actually invest in a building that's going to give them a return per se. So I wanted to see if the council was interested in doing that because I know that we had directed the city manager to go ahead and kick that P3 out as soon as possible and open it up. We may want to also have call it, instead of having another CRA meeting, I think that's what I had discussed with you.
Well, depending on if we got direction one way or the other tonight, it could be beneficial to have another CRA meeting. I think it would depend on, how everybody else
Consensus for
feels.
CRA meeting?
The next one is in February, so if we wanted to call an additional one, we could call one in January.
Yeah, I think let's do one in January. I think that'd be beneficial to.
Do you guys think
expedite this.
that, just from a council perspective, do you think that's something we should look at, or?
It's definitely something to look at. And that's why I think instead of wait till February, we have a meeting in January to
So hold
discuss
off on
all
the
that.
P3 until we have this discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll.
And
we'll
we
have
can
them-
still work on the P3, just not put it out there.
Right, we can have it for you in advance of that meeting.
Okay.
And because the main change that we needed to do was add the property behind the hotel. I don't know if there's any desire to make other changes to the P3.
Yeah, and one thing I would like to add with that, and I'm very pro-agriculture, and you know, we do have a garden in the back there. I don't know that it's the right place when it comes to our redevelopment plans, and maybe we talk about relocating that and adding that parcel along with the dry retention to this project.
Yeah, we had that conversation one time just like this, and I know that there was some discussion about that. Looking at the plans now, with what we're moving along, I would be supportive of doing that, adding it back in there.
All right, do we just need consensus, or do we make a motion on that?
If I could get a second nod, I just got it. Okay, we will add that to it.
Good.
And that's all I have. Thank you. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you. Well, then I don't have to talk about that part now. I would like to say how awesome it was, and staff did an amazing job with the tree lighting, with the parade, with everything we had going on. I think it was amazing with the downtown stuff. I would like to point out, Chief Gerke, of course, flew in here halfway through, and I know he was in Washington, D.C. Would you like to speak about your officer, sir?
That's why they kept that telephone booth over there for.
That's right, Super Cape. Doug Gerke, Chief Police. We had Curtis Wessler, is one of our captains, just finished 10 weeks at the FBI Academy. The FBI National Academy, it's less than 1% of all law enforcement leaders get to go to this academy. Since my tenure, since I've been here in the 3 years, I've gotten 2 of them in there already. I serve on the Florida FBI National Academy Board. So that's how I'm able to get this done. But he just finished 10 weeks of executive leadership development. So it's there's about 250 attendees from all around the world. So I think there's 25 or 26 international students that were there as well. And for those 10 weeks, it's a lot of public speaking. It's dealing with the media, executive leadership. So it actually goes into a lot of heavy discussions. They come out with master's degree level certificate credit hours, and that was at no cost to the city other than his salary. The FBI actually covered all of that for him, so they gave him his food and everything else that he had up there. So all we had to do was cover his salary. So I just went up there. He just graduated today. Very, very great day. It's great to have him home. There will be a post on social media kind of outlining what the National Academy is. I'm trying to get some more people. Now we're down to the lieutenant level, so I'm going to try to get the lieutenants up there at an early stage. So the longer we have them, this is a network of family. There's over 50,000 people that have attended this, that you can put something out and they will send you policies, procedures. There's always a network that you can always reach out to. So it's a great day for St. Cloud Police, obviously for Captain Curtis Wessler for graduating. Captain Denise Roberts had already graduated. I'm a graduate. 5 years ago I was there. So it's just it's an amazing honor to get people up there.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And y'all had a heck of a week last week, I know, and I know we talked about it during the superintendent's time, but thank you very much. Your team did an amazing job out there at St. Cloud High a couple days there. So
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. And that's still an active criminal case. I will tell you that. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I promise you we're working with our federal partners on this one.
Yes, sir.
So, and it's still working.
Now, I was fortunate to be able to hand out some food there from Jimmy Bear's Barbecue. They were out there giving out food to the fire department and the police department. And while we were out there, they got a call. I think it was an accident at Rummel Road. So you guys kind of hauled butt out of there, and we're doing the job. So
Yes,
it was
sir.
amazing.
That's correct. That's correct. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Here's your school district challenge coin before I steal it.
All right. And lastly, I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And it would be rude to not point out Melissa Dunklin's amazing hairstyle.
Yes. Yes.
Somebody had to say it. It'd be rude. And now we're here that brings us to the information section, report section. We have Tuesday, December 24th, 2024. City offices are closed in observance of the Christmas Eve holiday. Wednesday, December 25th, 2024, city offices closed in observance of Christmas Day holiday. Wednesday, January 1st, 2025, city offices closed in observance of New Year's holiday. Thursday, January 9th, 2025, city council meeting at 6:30 p.m. at City Hall Council Chambers. And for your review, warrant list number 2 and the Tree Advisory Committee minutes are available for your viewing. And if nobody else has anything else to say, this meeting is adjourned.